baseball fans, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? We have reached the end, well, almost the end, of the regular season. Today was supposed to be the last day, but we got one more day tomorrow, everyone, for two more teams. It's down to the Braves and to the Mets tomorrow. Who will get in? Who will get that last? Who will get the last two spots? It's not just the Braves and the Mets. The Diamondbacks will be waiting to see what their fate will be. Will the Braves get in? Will the Mets finally get over the LOL Mets? We'll talk about it. But we're going to go over each team tonight. We're going to go all the way from 30 to number 1 in the final power rankings of 2024. Strikeout. The man's lucky because he's an old.
That we never knew if we would see in the game of baseball.
Hello. Welcome to the final power rankings of 2024. Man, we have been doing these, how many years now? What is it, 3 years at this point? Is it 4 years? What year is it? It's 2024. My goodness, my brain is already not working. But yeah, we've been doing these for quite a bit. And the last one of the year, it's always... it's like a bittersweet moment, right? Because, getting through these power rankings mostly every week, it gets almost monotonous at times. But then when you get to the last one, it's cool to reflect on the entire year that has just come and gone. It feels like a long season, but then here we are at the end of the season. It feels like it takes a while to get through, but then you look back and you're like, oh, wow. That actually, that went by pretty quick. And here we are. We got the postseason starting this week. One of the most exciting times of the year. You all know me. I love the offseason with all the trades and free agency. I love the trade deadline. But, of course, I love the postseason. I do like the postseason a little better with my Red Sox, though. Unfortunately, my Red Sox, they're not going this year, and that's okay. I'm looking towards a hopefully fun offseason for the Red Sox. But there's going to be a lot of fun for quite a few teams this coming week, and a lot of you guys out there are very amped for the playoffs coming up this week. But we got two more spots, actually, left for the National League. That's going to be very interesting. I'm very curious to see how this unfolds tomorrow. There's a lot of storylines at play here, right? I mean, the Braves, they've had their struggles offensively all year. Great pitching all year, but, lots of injuries for them. Can they just squeak in? And, what's crazy about the doubleheader for tomorrow with the Mets and the Braves is that if they split, they're both in. So, but if one of them drops both, then the team that won both and the Diamondbacks will get the last spot. So it's going to be very interesting, seeing how the Diamondbacks have just kind of, they got so hot here in the second half, and they just couldn't close the deal here in the final couple of weeks. Looking at the Mets, look how hot they got, and, they couldn't close the deal here in the last few games. And the Braves, look how good the Braves are right now, hanging on by a thread and doing what they got to do in these final, few days here to just put themselves in this position. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. I will tell you all this. We will be live tomorrow. We will be live watching probably game 2, because it's going to come down to game 2 in the end. We will be live. I will be doing a watch along for that. So if you would like a place to hang out and, hang out with everyone in the chat and listen to what my potato face has to say about the game tomorrow. Come on by here tomorrow. I will be live. We will be watching it together because game 2, it does come down to that. That will be the final spot or final 2 spots for the postseason. I feel like I'm rambling here. Thank you for stopping by here, everyone. We got a super chat here. Nicholas Brooks, $10 super chat. How do you feel watching Charlie Blackmon retiring? Charlie Blackmon, this is a guy I feel like was a pretty underrated player. He put up some really solid seasons. I can't remember the All-Star game. There was an All-Star game he performed very well in. But Blackmon, this is a guy who would just put up a lot of good seasons, and unfortunately, just so many bad Rockies teams, and this is a guy I feel like people need to make sure they appreciate, right? Imagine what he could have done if he was on, a playoff contender every single year. He really put up some good numbers. We're seeing a lot of guys, every year we always see, a few guys where, the end of their career, and it's sad, right? With my Red Sox today, Castiglione, longtime broadcaster for the Red Sox, how sad, man. I've listened, that's the only guy that I've heard when it comes to the broadcast, it was sad. It was very, things are just weird, when someone that you've been watching for so long or listening to for so long and just like that, they're gone. It's crazy. But yeah, Charlie Blackmon, very solid player. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that. CRaz951, thank you for becoming a member for yet another month. Jacob Toon as well. You say here, I can't believe the White Sox went 121 and 41. I mean, what a great record for the White Sox this year. Absolutely fantastic. My goodness. But everyone, let's get going here. We got a lot to get into here tonight. Before I do get started, if you can, as always, just hit that subscribe button for me if you're new. Everyone, I need you to hit that like button for me. Hit that bell notification. Share the show if you can. The last power rankings of 2024. And, and everyone, I'm going to be honest here. I don't know what it's going to be looking like in 2025 for power rankings. I'm going to be very honest with you. I try to be as transparent as always with you. 2025, I'm not sure, with power rankings, I will tell you this. I put everything I got into it every single week. I look up, a bunch of stats. I look at what's going on with each team. It takes a lot to get ready for power rankings. And, there's a lot of other things I really want to work on. I still want to stream. I still want to do, live stuff. But when it comes to other pieces of content that I want to work on, power rankings, I'm not saying they get in the way, but they take up a lot of time. So I will say this. I'm not sure if power rankings will be returning in 2025. I would, love to keep them going. Just got to maybe try and figure out a better schedule, I would say. We'll see. I'll let you all know, but I would like for them to keep going because I know that's something where we can all come together once a week and, just talk some ball, right? But if it's not power rankings next year, maybe it could be like a monthly power rankings, maybe like end of the month power rankings, something like that. I will say when it comes to live content for next year, I want to maybe possibly try out some other things, maybe watching games together, just kind of hanging out, and of course making other content as well where, it takes a while to edit and it takes a lot of effort, planning and recording and editing and whatnot. It does take up a lot of time, and power rankings, they take up a lot of time too. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later on, but let's make this a fun one here tonight. 2024, we're at the end of it. Let's get to it. Here we go. As always, you know how this works. We start at number 30. It's also very dark in here. Why is it so dark in here? Why? I got my light on. I don't know what the heck is going on here. Here we go. At number 30, we got the White Sox. The most losses in a single season. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. My goodness, the Chicago White Sox. What the heck is going on here for the next couple of years? Listen, I will say this, White Sox fans. I will say this. you got some hope, okay? Remember the Detroit Tigers back in 2003. That team was so bad in 2003, and they made it to a World Series in 2006. Now, I'm not saying the White Sox are going to make it to a World Series in 3 years. I'm not saying that. But you can look at past teams that were very bad, and you can even go back to the 1962 Mets. That team won the World Series in, what was it, 1969, if I'm thinking correctly? So it took them under 10 years to get back to the promised land. And hey, you know, when it comes to the White Sox, they do have some promising prospects in that system, right? You got Noah Schultz, you got Hagen Smith there. They're set up pretty well when it comes to the pitching. They need to do something about some bats, though, right? They're going to have to go make some moves here this offseason. Garrett Crochet, that is going to be a guy that you need to go get yourself a future impact bat with Garrett Crochet. I'm not sure who that bat is. One guy possibly, maybe someone like a Josue DePaula on the Dodgers, right? You know, you would like to say Dalton Rushing, but Dalton Rushing was a guy that the Dodgers didn't really want to give up that reports were suggesting. So, you know, maybe someone like a Josue DePaula, you know, maybe you could go get, you do have Montgomery in this system. He did struggle this year. I believe injuries back from last year probably trickled into this year, and it took him a little while to get himself going. He did have a good final month in the minors, so Colson Montgomery, it looks like he could be back on track. But maybe you could go get yourself possibly a future shortstop. Maybe Colson Montgomery could be a guy that moves to third base at some point. Maybe you could do something with the Padres. Maybe someone like a Leodelis DeVries. Maybe you could go to the Phillies. You got someone like a Starlin Caba there. You got some other decent bats in that system. I don't know if they give up Aiden Miller, but maybe you could do something with a Starlin Caba and like a Justin Crawford. I think the White Sox, even though they had a terrible season this year, there are moves they can make to get them back into contention, I think, within the next 3 years. They got some great pitching in that organization already. They need to go out this offseason and get some bats. And don't forget about Luis Robert. What happens with him? What happens with him here? Down season kind of makes me think they're probably going to hang on to him until the deadline. Because, he had such a bad year, obviously more injuries this year. I think teams are going to want to see how he's doing in the first couple of months. That's just my opinion. His value has taken a hit because of the down year and, the injury that he had this year. So let's see. Let's see what ends up happening. Also, everyone, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the chat when it comes to the volume. I'm seeing some of you talking about volume. Let me know if I need to increase it. Just let me know. Maybe I got to position this a little bit. Why is it so dark in here? I don't know why it's so dark. Anyway, but the White Sox, fun year in the worst way possible, right? But let's see what they do this offseason. They're going to be looking to cut some payroll. Andrew Benintendi, could they end up trying to move him? They're probably going to have to eat some of that contract. But I expect the White Sox to make some moves. Yoan Moncada, I don't know if they bring him back. I think he ends up going elsewhere personally. Saying here, Bailey says perfect volume. David, check your mic out, please. Volume is low. Can't hear you. Let me turn it up a little bit. All right, I don't want to increase it too much because the gain, it tends to if I go too much, it tends to pop a lot. It just doesn't. It's not a good sound. Anyway, the White Sox, they're terrible, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think give the White Sox a couple of years, I think they definitely could be back into contention. So here we go. Number 29, the Angels. This is a team to pay attention to next year. You got some young players, right? You got Zach Nato, Shanwell, Ohapi. Look out for guys like Caden Donna, Christian Moore. You got some guys at the deadline back in the Carlos Estevez trade, right? You got Aldegari and you got Clausen back in that deal. So look for those guys to be a part of the pitching staff next year. So you got something to be excited about if you're an Angels fan, right? You got some young talent coming up the pipe. So let's see what ends up happening with these young players and the Angels, maybe the Angels could end up being, kind of one of these fun teams next year. And look out for Mike Trout, obviously. Who knows what happens with Mike Trout at this point? We're all just hoping for just a fully healthy season. I've been seeing people suggest, let's just trade him this offseason. I don't know if you're going to be able to trade him at this point. Unless you just eat half that contract. I just don't see that happening. But the Angels, I'm not sure what they do here this offseason. I feel like they're going to be pretty conservative this offseason. Maybe they make some smaller moves. I don't think they're going to break the bank, or at least try to. Maybe they bring in a couple of guys, on some smaller contracts to fill some holes. But I'm not seeing much of the Angels. Young players, I think that's something to be excited about for 2025. Number 28, we got the Marlins. Hey, they had some guys down the stretch here hitting pretty well for them, right? Xavier Edwards, Conine, Otto Lopez, they were hitting pretty well. Connor Norby looked pretty good after that trade with the Orioles. So they got some younger players to pay attention to. But, with the Marlins, I feel like they're still far away at this point, right? I'm not expecting really anything from them in 2025. 2026, I'm not even sure what to think about them, right? You just brought in Peter Bendix not too long ago. It's going to take a little time to get his, vision of an organization going, right? You just brought in a bunch of players at the trade deadline. There's a lot of promise there. I'm not expecting much, right? The Marlins for 25, sure, Sandy Alcantara, he'll be back. But I actually wonder if Alcantara could be a trade candidate at the deadline. I don't think he's going to get moved this offseason, right? I think teams are going to want to see what the health is looking like. But Alcantara, if he's healthy and he's pitching well in the first half next year, I could see some teams maybe looking to make a trade. Jesus Luzardo, could he be a trade candidate this offseason? Again, I think teams are going to want to see what the health is looking like. So the Marlins, they could be interesting at the trade deadline next year. Number 27, we got the Rockies. Listen, I might be one of the few people out there that might have some hope for the Rockies. They do got some young talent in this system. Listen, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, look out. Look out for Chase Dollander. I mean, this guy really pitched well in the minor leagues this year. I would not be surprised to see this guy up in the major leagues next year. Charlie Condon, this is a guy, they just drafted. Big-time prospect out of Georgia. A lot of hope for him. Didn't really do too much, in a small sample size in the minors this year after getting drafted. So I think people are they're going to be paying attention to what he's doing next year. Hopefully he ends up not being one of these guys that, there's a lot of hype behind him, put up great numbers at the, in the college ranks, and then ends up falling off. We'll see. We'll see here with Condon, but there is some excitement there. But they had some guys at the major league level this year, right? You had Doyle hit very well this year, good power speed combination with him, and Michael Toglia had 25 home runs this year. Remember, they drafted him not too long ago. So look out for him next year. Nolan Jones had some injuries this year. Hopefully a bounce back year for him. And Chris Bryant, can this guy just get it freaking going at this point? He's turning into one of the worst free agent signings of all time. I think the Rockies, I wonder if maybe they could be a team that's sneakily active this offseason, because they got some young talent here. I wonder, I agree with you. Wolfpack, 1977. No one wants to go pitch in Coors. I agree. But I wonder if maybe they look out in the market for some offense there. Maybe try to add some, a bat maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I just have this funny little feeling about the Rockies. We'll see what they end up doing this offseason. But in the end, they probably won't do all that much for 2025. Could they be a team where they get some of these young players up at the major league level? And then maybe, who knows, could they end up being a fun team? Probably leaning towards no on that one, but I just think they got more good young prospects than you think. All right, number 26, we got the Oakland A's. Hey, sad times in Oakland right now. Hey, man, was there just a lot of sad moments this week? I felt like just so much stuff was sad this past week. Had Castiglione today with the Red Sox, Blackman retiring, the A's leaving Oakland. Jeff Passan maybe going to the NBA. I mean, why is everything sad right now in Major League Baseball? I mean, my goodness. I mean, it was sad times. But on to Sacramento. It's going to be interesting to see what Oakland is going to be. You know, I think there's some things to be excited about. You know, yeah, sure, they're going to Sacramento, but I think they got some talent here. You know, they did get off to a pretty fun start this year. Eventually, they came back down to earth. But, right, big year for Mason Miller. You know, Lawrence Butler was great with the bat this year. Huge year for Brent Rooker. You know, so they got guys here. You know, even J.J. Bleday was solid, right? Look out for, you know, Jack Wilson to take a step forward next year. He hit pretty decently down the stretch here. You know, Zach Geloff had a bit of a down year, but there's a lot of potential with him. You know, I think Oakland, there's, you know, despite the sad times, I think this team, they got some promise here, right? We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with them. But anyway, a sad week for Oakland. Number 25, we got the Nationals. And listen, if you're looking for a team they're going to have some expectations for next year, and they're going to have some expectations for this offseason. I think the Nationals, they are due for a decent offseason, right? You finally got some young talent coming up to the major league level. James Wood looked impressive this year. Dylan Cruz coming up, right? And, hey, you know, say what you want about C.J. Abrams. You know, I know he was trying to stay hot at the blackjack table and ended up costing him, and he got sent back down to the minor leagues. But I think that move, I think they were sending a message to everyone in the organization. Listen, get your act together. We're looking to get back into competition here, right? I saw some people disagreeing with that move. I personally think it was a good move, right? You know, I saw a lot of people out there saying, listen, you know, whatever you do in your free time, as long as you're ready to play. But listen, come on, if you got a day game and you're out until 8 in the morning, come on, you know, it's not a good look at the end of the day. That's just my opinion. But I think the Nationals, they're looking to do some big things starting this offseason, right? And according to reports, you know, hey, they're looking to add this offseason. They're looking to add a bat. You know, could they add something here for first base? You know, when you look at a possible Pete Alonso addition, I don't think that's too crazy. You know, could you go after someone like a Christian Walker? Could they somehow jump back into the Juan Soto sweepstakes here? I am looking for the Nationals to make some moves this offseason, right? And one thing the Nationals, they did very well in this year was pitching. They had great starting pitching this year. They ranked 7th overall and 10th overall when it came to relief pitching. I think the Nationals, there's excitement here. I'm excited to see what they do this offseason. Number 24, we got the Pirates. It was the Paul Skeens show. Rookie of the year, most likely. Jackson Merrill was getting some steam there. I think in the end, it's going to be Paul Skeens for Rookie of the Year. Now, when it comes to the Pirates and the offense, it was a huge problem this year. They need to do something. Now, I've seen Pirates fans say, hey, listen, we got to get rid of Derek Shelton. Ben Cherington has come out and said, you know, hey, that's the guy we want. You know, that's the right guy for 2025. I don't know. I wonder, you know, what's going to happen. Are they going to make a change? I know he said that, but, you know, things can change. We'll see. Will he be the guy leading the way for the Pittsburgh Pirates here over the next couple of years? I don't know. If he does return, I think they're going to have to make some kind of a change when it comes to the hitting coach or something, right? Because that offense was so bad. You got bats there, right? But, you know, you see someone like a Ke'Bryan Hayes. You know, this is a guy, you know, Pirates fans are waiting for him to break out in a big way with the bat, and he's just not doing it at this point, right? You know, you had some guys, you know, doing some things in that lineup, right? They need more. They need something in this lineup, and they're not going to get anywhere. You know, sure, they could have Paul Skeens and whatever pitching. You know, hey, Jared Jones, right? Keller. You know, yeah, you could have a decent 1, 2, 3 there, but you need some offense. Could they maybe go out this offseason and go get someone? We'll see. But for the Pirates, it's going to be an interesting offseason for them. Number 23, we've got the Blue Jays. Speaking of interesting offseasons, I'm very intrigued with the Blue Jays this coming off season. Disappointment of a year, a bummer of a year for the Blue Jays this year. The bullpen was absolutely terrible. 30th overall in Fangraph wins above replacement. They had the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. I felt like the rotation was just up and down this year. They ranked 17th overall. Kevin Gausman, it felt like looked great at times, but then there was other times not so much. I felt like a pretty up and down year for him. Not a bad year by any means, but not that typical Kevin Gausman year we're used to seeing. Jose Barrios, the advanced metrics didn't favor him very much this year. We'll see what he looks like next year. Alek Manoah, he ended up having to get UCL surgery. Let's see what he's going to look like in 25. Can this guy finally get himself right? The offense, though. Vlad Jr., an amazing year for Vlad Jr., right? But a lot of down years, right? Bo Bichette being the big one, did deal with some injuries this year. But I don't know. He just seemed like a guy that was checked out. I don't know what happened with Bichette. I don't know what's going on there, but he just looked like a guy that just had a bad year all the way around. Not just physically, not just baseball-wise, but mentally. Just seemed just completely out of it this year, right? It seemed like everyone was dialing in, breaking down and dissecting every word he was saying, right? There was the game or the series in San Francisco where he was saying like he loves San Francisco, yada, yada, yada. And Blue Jays fans were like, what the heck? Why are you saying these things? So a lot of people think this is a guy that doesn't want to stay there long term. But then he's come out and said too, like he would love to, play with Vlad for a long time, and I'm interested to see what happens with him this offseason. But because of the down year, because of the injuries, really, what are the Blue Jays even going to get for him at this point? So I don't know. You had a couple of younger guys, that looked pretty good here. Will Wagner, Horwitz looked pretty solid, but George Springer, this is not looking like a good contract here for the Blue Jays. I know people were excited about it. People were very excited about that move when it happened, and it was a big move. It's just not looking great, and I feel like they need more in that lineup with Vlad, right? Once again, only had one guy with over a 500 slugging, They need something else in this lineup. I expect the Blue Jays to go out there this offseason. I think they're going to go out there and make some moves, right? They went for Ohtani last year. Obviously, that did not work out. They got the guy from Shark Tank instead. I think they're going to go out there and try to land something. They've been mentioned in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I don't know. I don't expect Soto to end up going to Toronto. I don't know the guy, but I don't know. It just seems like such a out of left field destination. I don't see that happening. And yes, Yuki Matsui, yes, Bowden Francis as well. Look out for Bowden Francis in the rotation. I'm not worried about the rotation necessarily moving forward. But it's the offense for me. I just feel like they need more impact bats in the middle of that order. Get something going there. I think they'll go out and try to add something this offseason. We'll see. But number 22, we got the Rangers, the World Series champions last year. We are guaranteed a new World Series champion this year. Another year of a team not able to repeat. It is now looking like the most difficult thing in sports these days is going back-to-back World Series champions. Now, for the Rangers, this was a textbook example of a World Series hangover. A team with a lot of injuries. You had down performances this year. I felt like Evan Carter was an absolute star last year in the postseason, and he just kind of disappeared this year. He had a back problem. You didn't really even see him. Corey Seager ended up having the hernia. He did have himself a good year. I just felt like, he just, once again, just having injuries. Marcus Semien didn't look all that great with the bat, had a little bit of power there, but felt like the bat wasn't what we saw back in 2023. And then when it came to the pitching side of things, right, DeGrom, right, he ended up coming back. So I think Rangers fans are very excited to have a full season of DeGrom in 2025. That's going to be huge. Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker. I think that's something to be excited for in 2025. So I think you got some things to look forward to in 25, right? Got some young guys coming up here. Got some young guys in the lineup that should be good to go for next year. I expect the Rangers to be competitive once again in 2025. I'm curious to see what will they do this offseason. All right, the last offseason, there's just issues with the money. You had the TV revenue thing. What's going to happen here this coming offseason, right? Is that still going to be a problem, right? All that stuff, I think, was only resolved for 1 year. So is that going to keep happening here for this offseason? We'll see. But either way, I think the Rangers, they'll get over this hangover. I think they'll be back in contention for next year. And closing out this tier, we got the Rays. Hey, another team that took a step back this year. I'm looking to see what they do this offseason. I would not be surprised to see Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz come up in trade rumors. They had pretty much a fire sale at the deadline. You were wondering if Yandy and Lau could have been moved at the deadline. They ended up staying put, so I could see them looking to engage in talks with those guys once again. But hey, you got some young talent here with Tampa. We've known this for years. The Rays always have good farm systems, right? But, Junior Caminero, looking to see what this guy can do over a full season. Shane Baz, he came back this year. He was very solid this year. Shane Baz, I felt like went pretty under the radar this year. Ryan Pepio was solid this year. Could we maybe see Carson Williams at some point next year? Don't forget about Shane McClanahan for next year. I think the Rays, they're going to be a team next year. The way I always think about it with the Rays, even if they're not in contention, they're just a pesky team you don't want to play, and they're just annoying. I expect them to be at least that next year, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them back in the wild card hunt for 2025. Alrighty, let's finish up this tier, shall we? Everyone, while I'm getting to the next tier, if you can, just hit that like button for me. That's all I ask. We got almost 300 people in the chat for the last power rankings of the year. Oh, we are at 300 people. Okay, here we go. But yeah, hit that like button for me. The goal for tonight is 200 likes. We're at 129. We're getting there. Help us get there if you can. If you are new, just joining us for the first time, hit that subscribe button for us. Share the show if you can. And everyone, while I got you, 300 people here in the chat, we will be live tomorrow for the Mets and the Braves Game 2. We will not go live for Game 1. I will be here for Game 2. It's going to come down to Game 2 tomorrow. So we will see who the final two teams are once that game is final. So come on out tomorrow, hang out. We're just going to have a good old time watching the Mets and the Braves. At number 20, Cincinnati. Tough year for Cincinnati, right? Because this was a team I had a lot of expectations for coming into the year. Lots of injuries this year. Right? And it didn't help that Noelvi Marte had the suspension to start the year, right? So I just felt like they didn't get off on the right foot this year. Just never got it going, right? They did have some good performances this year, right? Ellie De La Cruz was amazing. Spencer Steer had a great year. I felt like a very underrated year for Spencer Steer. They need more, though, in this lineup, right? Christian Encarnacion Strand ended up getting hurt, right? Candelario, pick up for them in the offseason last year. He missed a decent amount of time. Matt McLean, all right, he missed all of this year, right? So they need these guys to get back into this lineup. I think if they're healthy next year, I think we will see what I thought the Reds were going to be this year, a team that was in the mix. And one more thing with the pitching. They did have some good starting pitching this year. Ended up moving Frankie Montas. He was struggling a little bit going towards the deadline. He definitely got himself figured out with the Brewers. But Hunter Green had a great year. Nick Lodolo looked solid at times. And hey, Rhett Lauder, man, I expect him to definitely get some more innings next year. He will be in that rotation next year. He looked very solid for Cincinnati. So, again, a down year for Cincinnati, but I think they had so much bad luck this year, with guys staying on the field. So, yeah, I expect a lot more from Cincinnati in 2025. Number 19, we got the Giants. Another bummer of a season, right? They never got it going either. They also had a lot of injuries this year, right? You had Blake Snell, big pickup in the offseason. He just wasn't right in the first half. Looked amazing in the second half, but they just had a lot of guys going on the IL. They just never, and also, Jung-Hoo Lee, right? He ended up missing the entire year. So you never even had him from the get-go, right? So they were very similar to the Reds this year, where they just had a lot of bad luck with the injuries. And, when it came to the offense, you definitely had some good years. Matt Chapman, I felt like, was one of the most underrated players in baseball this year. The big story with Chapman was the big extension he ended up getting. So he'll be staying in San Francisco. I would expect this guy's going to be with San Fran probably the rest of his career. Tyler Fitzgerald had a great year. Elliot Ramos looked great. They need more, though. They need more thump in this lineup. And they are going to get Jung-Hoo Lee back. They're going to get Jung-Hoo Lee, right? So that'll be a nice addition for 25. But the Giants are going to go out there this offseason, and they're going to try and land someone. They're going to try everything they can for Juan Soto. I mean, I would imagine he probably doesn't end up going there, but, we'll see. We'll see. I do expect them to be busy. I will say this. I will not count out the Giants bringing back Blake Snell. I will not count that out because, listen, at the end of the day, Blake Snell, he looked great in the second half. So, unlike Jordan Montgomery, he has looked terrible with the Diamondbacks all year. Blake Snell, yes, he definitely got a lot of flack for signing late, and that ended up, I think, being the biggest issue of all, signing late into spring training, and he just looked miserable in the first half. But he got himself right in the second half through the no-hitter. But Jordan Montgomery, on the other hand, he never really got it together. So that's, I think you could still see Snell work something out with the Giants. I will not count that out whatsoever. And hey, this is a team, they're going to still try to compete. So it's not like, yeah, they had a down year, right? But I think for the Giants, they're going to go out there this offseason and they're going to look to drop some money out there. And yeah, I won't count out Blake Snell coming back. Bullpen, they definitely had some good pieces in the bullpen. Ryan Walker had an amazing year this year in the bullpen. The Rogers brothers looked great. But Camille Duvall, very down year for Camille Duvall, ended up getting sent back down to the minor leagues at one point. So you had a lot of good things with the Giants this year, but you just had a lot of bad things as well. A lot of injuries, a lot of bad luck. Looking for Robbie Ray as well to be fully healthy for next year. Kyle Harrison, he was starting to get some dings later on. So if they can get Snell back in 25, I think this is a team that they will be in contention for next year. We will see what they do this offseason, though. Listen, they landed guys last offseason. Granted, the two big ones they landed were, Matt Chapman was someone that played not too far away in Oakland. Blake Snell was a West Coast guy. Will they be able to get someone like Juan Soto? I mean, he was in San Diego. We'll see. They were able to attract, Jung-Hoo Lee, right, from Korea. So, we'll see. Can they land a guy, that's one of these top guys on the market? We'll see. We'll see. Hey, maybe you could bring in one of these bats, possibly like a Pete Alonso. Maybe you could attract someone like a Christian Walker there. Maybe. We'll see. Here we go. Number 18. The Cardinals. Hey, the Cardinals were in the news today. How about the Cardinals in the news today? Sonny Gray, maybe a trade candidate. I'm not very surprised about that. Sonny Gray, you got to remember, he did sign a big contract, 3 years, $75 million. I believe there's a mutual option for the fourth year, but he only made $10 million this year. It was a backloaded contract. So I think the Cardinals, they were thinking, this is my thought process when that happened. They brought him in, right? $10 million this year, doesn't really cost you a whole lot. And I think the Cardinals were looking to try and make the playoffs this year, obviously, right? It didn't work out. So I'm not surprised to see Sonny Gray come up on the trade block here already because his salary is jumping from $10 million to $25 million in 2025. And then it's going to be $35 million in 2026. So my thought process was, okay, we can bring in Sonny Gray, $10 million this year. That's pretty cheap. If we make the playoffs, great, right? He doesn't cost a whole lot. If we don't make the playoffs, well, okay, well, that stinks, right? So 25, that salary's going way up. So they're probably thinking, all right, well, hey, we only had to pay him $10 million. Let's just try and get rid of him. We'll see if they can. He's a guy that I think could absolutely be a great addition for some teams out there. Obviously, he's been very solid here in the last couple of years. He is getting a little older. I think people forget Sonny Gray is almost in his mid-30s at this point. But, we're seeing guys in their mid-30s, this year, right? Chris Sale, Seth Lugo, couple of guys, couple of examples there where even though they're in their mid-30s, it seems like they're aging like fine wine, like Giraffe Neck Mark likes to say. So I think Sonny Gray could be interesting. I think they're going to have to eat some of that contract in the end, but you got Chaim Bloom. That's another story that's been coming out where it looks like he's going to be taking on a more prominent role when it comes to the player development. Listen, Chaim Bloom, hey, Red Sox fans, they can say what they want, but that guy completely revamped the farm system. He brought in a lot of good talent. He was the guy in charge when they drafted Roman Anthony, who is now the number one prospect in all of Major League Baseball on Baseball America's rankings. So I'm just saying, right? You picked up Christian Campbell. I'm just saying here, Chaim, he's going to do good things for the Cardinals. And we'll see. For the Cardinals, right? I don't know what they're going to be in 2025. I feel like if you're a Cardinals fan, I would imagine you're confused at this point. You're thinking, what are we even doing? Like, what's even happening here, right? We're trading Sonny Gray, right? Paul Goldschmidt not expected to return. And listen, Goldschmidt, I believe it was just time to move on, right? Obviously, he's done great things with the Cardinals over the years, but the numbers have been just going down here over the last couple of years. I think they need to move on here. I could see Goldschmidt, we'll see. I think he'll end up going somewhere. But I think for the Cardinals, they need to start taking that step towards the future. I'm very curious to see what they do here this offseason. Either way, though, they need to start getting some of these younger guys stepping up for them. Jordan Walker, can this guy finally emerge? People were excited about Jordan Walker here in the last couple of years, and he just hasn't really been able to get anything going. Nolan Gorman took a step back this year. Let's see what these two guys can do here next year. And Nolan Arenado, they need to get him going a bit more at the bat. Listen, Nolan Arenado, this is a $30 million, $35 million a year guy. Listen, you need more out of that. I'm sorry, you're paying this guy how much, and you're getting really below average performance with the bat. Yeah, he's going to be out there, giving some great defense at third base, but they need more with the bat there. They need more. And will they go out there and make big additions? I feel like at this point, if they're looking to get rid of Sonny Gray, I don't know. What? Are they going to make any big additions this offseason? I don't know. I think they're really going to be looking towards some of these younger guys in the organization, right? Michael McGreevy, he got a little bit of time there. I would think he's going to get some time in the rotation next year. Tank Hens, could we see him next year? Quinn Matthews, they do got some guys. We'll see, but I think the fact that you're seeing these reports of Chaim looking to, he's taking more of a role here. I think that's signaling a change for the Cardinals, and I think next year could be possibly another year where they're kind of just trying to stay afloat, right? Maybe they're hanging around that 500 mark. But then again, maybe they could make some creative moves this offseason, right? You've seen Chaim kind of make some creative moves where, in the past, where maybe if they can get rid of Sonny Gray, maybe they could bring back possibly, I don't know, maybe they could figure something out there, get creative, and we'll see, Chaim has a way of getting creative with some of these trades. So I think it's an interesting offseason for the Cardinals. My Red Sox. I'm not going to go. I could go forever here. I won't spend too long, I promise. But for the Red Sox, I get it. Red Sox fans, all across the land, you expect the Red Sox to be great. You expect them to be in contention every single year. You expect them to be in the postseason, going for World Series every year. I just feel like the last few years, I kind of talked about this last offseason, right? Or even going into this coming season. This year felt like an evaluation kind of a year. And that's really what it ended up being. Yes, they were in contention, right? They were there hanging around until the final, couple of weeks there. But again, when I look back at everything, it was an evaluation kind of a year. You saw what you had with the pitching staff. You brought in Andrew Bailey as your pitching coach. You saw what you could get out of these guys, right? Tanner Houck looks like a legit guy at the top of the rotation. Is he an ace? I definitely think he made as good of a case as you could. He looked fantastic this year at times. It still feels like they need something else alongside him. When I'm looking at Brian Bayo, I think Brian Bayo got dealt a bad card, honestly. What do I mean by that? I feel like a lot of people, they just saw Pedro Martinez. They saw a similar delivery, similar background, he's a little, kind of right around the same height as Pedro, but he's not Pedro. And I just feel like that's what I mean that he was dealt a bad hand. What I mean by bad hand is I felt like there were just way too many expectations for Brian Bayo. And I remember saying this offseason, I feel like he's a Marcus Stroman. I feel like he's a guy that he's a solid middle of the rotation guy. I don't know, maybe they could take a step forward, right? They got a lot out of Tanner Houck this year. They didn't get the same with Brian Bayo. You saw Bayo take a lot of steps back this year. Can they figure something out with this coming offseason? I don't know. I mean, hey, he's still very young, right? I think you can get more out of him, but I'm not expecting this guy to emerge as the ace of your rotation. I'm expecting him to be a guy in the middle of the rotation. Now, when it comes to possibly adding something for the rotation this offseason, Alex Spire of the Boston Globe, he was suggesting, or not suggesting, but said he was getting a feel that the Red Sox are more likely to go after a guy who they went after last offseason, didn't work out in the end. Seth Lugo ended up going to the Royals, and Jack Flaherty going to the Tigers. Those two signed shorter deals, not massive contracts, and they ended up being great value for their teams, right? Look at Jack Flaherty. He's going to be the number one starter in the postseason for the Dodgers. So, Seth Lugo, he's been one of the top pitchers in the game this year. The Red Sox, he was suggesting that he thinks that that's what they're going to look to do this offseason. Could they go after Corbin Burns? I think there's positives, obviously, to bringing someone like that in, but I feel like the way Craig has operated up to this point, I just don't think that's something he's going to do. I don't think they're ready to, I don't know. I just feel like, when you look at a comparison, you look at the David Price signing. That, yes, he helped win a World Series in 2018, but that was a pretty bad contract overall. Had the Dennis Eckersley stuff going on there too. He never really seemed to have a good relationship with the media there. I don't expect them to go after Corbin Burns. I just don't. I think they're going to look for a guy, 3-year deal, maybe 4. Don't forget they're getting Giolito back for next year. So I do expect them to address the pitching. We'll see. I think guys that they're probably going to look to go after, maybe like a Yusei Kikuchi, maybe like a Sean Manaea. I could see something like that, right? But they need some right-handed bats. They got a lot of left-handed bats, and one guy that I thought was going to be on the move this offseason was Masataka Yoshida. Well, according to reports, he might be needing shoulder surgery. So, I don't know if he's going to get traded at this point. I mean, he's already kind of a bad contract, right? He's already underwater, and now he needs shoulder surgery. I don't know. I feel like Yoshida's not going anywhere at this point, and I think they would like to move him. I've been saying this for a while now. People call me crazy. People are like, "What, Robbie? What do you mean? What do you mean trade Masataka Yoshida? We love you, Masataka Yoshida. I like Yoshida too. But when you look at the roster construction, you had so many left-handed bats, and people finally woke up to that this year. I'm sorry for being right about it, but I was kind of right about it. All right, but he does not fit the current construction very much. He's really a light DH at this point. I think he would be a lot better elsewhere. But it doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere. But Craig Breslow did suggest they got a lot of left-handed bats. Yeah, you do. You do. You got Willie Abreu, I think, could be a trade candidate. He'll be in the mix for Rookie of the Year voting. This is a guy that had a really solid year. All right, definitely still, when it comes to the splits, I think there needs to definitely be some improvement. But Willie Abreu definitely showed some things this year. But a guy that's young, has a lot of club control. Definitely think he could be a candidate this offseason, so look for that. I think they need to bring in some right-handed bats. Today, Tyler O'Neill, he did say that he has talked with the Red Sox, and there is mutual interest in coming up with a return. We'll see. We'll see, but I think my gut tells me there's going to be a team that's more motivated to bring in Tyler O'Neill than the Red Sox would be in bringing him back. We will see. One thing about Tyler O'Neill this year, he had a lot of strikeouts, right? He hit for a lot of power, but a lot of strikeouts too. We'll see. We'll see. But I think the Red Sox, they're going to look for a right-handed bat. I would love me some Brent Rooker, man. That's Jason Bay 2.0 in my opinion. Kenley Jansen, this is a big story over the last couple of days. Kenley Jansen leaving the team early. There were reports coming out, players, they wanted to speak anonymously that they weren't surprised that he left. Players, I guess, were saying that he didn't even know some of his teammates' names or something. Like he was a guy that was kind of just aloof, wasn't really too involved. I don't know. Very interesting. I remember I went on a rant going into the postseason or into spring training where Kenley Jansen, someone asked him, hey, are you guys, a playoff team this year? And I think he said something along the lines of, I don't know, we'll see. And I'm thinking, what do you mean we'll see? What kind of a comment is that? Like, no, man, you're here to win. So when I heard that comment, I checked out a little bit on Jansen. I don't know. So I'm not surprised to see comments like that. But, I don't know. When it comes to Jansen, I guess, he was having some injuries. Who knows what was going on personal with him. I don't know. I mean, hey, if he had some other stuff going on, hey, go tend to it. You weren't even going to pitch the last couple of games. But I can also see why people would be annoyed about that, especially your teammates. Jansen was a guy that just never really seemed to fit in all that much. I don't know. I don't mean fit in, but a guy that he just never really seemed to have his heart there. And a lot of people suggest, well, he was kind of sold a box of fake goods, right? Because they were saying, yeah, we're going to go for we're going to be a team that wants to compete, and they just didn't really go make the big moves, and he seemed annoyed about it. And I don't know. I think it was just the wrong place, wrong time in the end. So either way, I think the Red Sox are going to add some bullpen guys. Chris Martin is also a free agent, so look for the Red Sox to make some moves. I think they're going to have a big offseason, and I don't mean that in terms of going out there and making a big splash. I think they're going to go out there and look to make some quality moves. I think on the cheaper side, but I think they will go out there and spend some money. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do like a 3-4 year deal for a guy, something in that like $15 to $20 million range. I could see something like that. I think they're going to be active in the trade market. One more thing, and I'm going to move on. One more thing, and I'll move on. When you got a guy that comes in, Craig Breslow, first year leading the Red Sox front office, when you come in your first year, like I said, it's an evaluation year. You're just looking at what you got. He knows what he has now. He knows what he has a goal for this offseason, and I think he has ideas of what to do here. I think you're going to see a very active offseason for the Red Sox, way more active than last offseason. That's all I got. That is all I got. iTalk Studios is here. He says Jansen never felt invested. That's exactly what I meant, right? Just a guy that was kind of just here, He was on the roster. He did very well, right? But a guy that just didn't seem like a Red Sox at the end of the day, right? Didn't seem like he really wanted to be, right? Zach G, imagine if they have Teoscar Hernandez. I wonder if maybe they revisit those talks. right? They were in on Teoscar Hernandez last year. Teoscar Hernandez said they just wouldn't budge. Can that change? I don't know. I feel like gut says, that was last year. All right, we've moved on, I don't know. We'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see someone like Teoscar Hernandez come in. I think it really depends on what happens with O'Neill. So we will see. All right, that's enough for the Red Sox. I felt like I spent like 20 minutes there. I apologize. Number 16, we got the Cubs. Number 16, we got the Cubs. Down year for the Cubs, man. Down year. Just a lot of inconsistencies. I felt like they just really lacked bats when it came, down to really the nitty-gritty of things, right? Man, you brought in Craig Counsell this year, and there's so many expectations for the Cubs, and they just never really got it going, right? You had good years overall, right? I'm looking at the numbers here, right? Sai Suzuki had himself a solid year. Swanson, the numbers offensively were down a little bit, but, defensively still very solid out there. Bellinger, though, I felt like just didn't have that same impact that he had last year. His numbers went down a little bit. Peter Crow-Armstrong, he had some good moments this year, but I'm looking for him to take a step forward. Nico Horner, he still had himself a pretty decent season overall, but not what he did last year. Michael Busch ended up being a solid pickup. I think they just had a lot of good seasons, but they lacked great seasons from these guys. I just felt like they needed something else here in this lineup. I just felt like they just weren't consistent this year. And the big story for the Cubs this year was Shota Imanaga, right? Pitching-wise, they had a lot of good pitching this year. Imanaga was fantastic this year. Who would have thought Imanaga would end up being the better signing than Yoshinobu Yamamoto? I mean, who knows long term, right? But first year, yeah, Imanaga got the W there. But Justin Steele, he dealt with some health this year. Jamison Tyone did look pretty good. Javier Assad, pretty solid overall. Oh, that was another sad moment. Kyle Hendricks being, given the salute from the Wrigley faithful, right? That was sad. That was sad. So many sad moments this week. All right, Kyle Hendricks, that was another one, right? The crowd giving him a much, much deserved ovation. Man, he was so good for Chicago. I think one of the more underrated guys. Go back to 2015. He put up some solid years there, helped them win the World Series. But yeah, starting pitching wise, yeah, but they lacked in the lineup a little bit, but this bullpen, it was up and down all year. Up and down all year, right? They had injuries there. Aber Alzolay, he was just up and down this year with the injuries, right? But, hey, look out for Porter Hodge, man. This guy, he came up. He was doing some pretty good things this year, man. He had a 1.88 ERA on the year. So, Nate Pearson, he showed some flashes, but I just feel like they need more in this bullpen. In the end, the Cubs, they felt mid plus a little bit, if that makes sense, right? Because they had good years, but it just wasn't good enough, if that makes sense. So the Cubs at number 16. We got the Mariners at 15. My goodness, the Mariners, they were so freaking close, man. They were so close. So close. They were one game out. And they finished just like I told you, just like I thought they would. They were winning a lot of games here in the last week. They made the switch too late. I think they should have made this switch. I think they probably should have gone the Phillies route, the Joe Girardi route. I think, what was it, August 23rd, they made the move. So they gave Scott Service a couple of weeks to see if they could figure it out. They brought in Randy Rosarena. They brought in Justin Turner. But I don't know, man. I just think for the Mariners in the end, it just was too little too late. All right? They should have made the switch earlier, You had a lot of guys that were stepping up for them in the second half. J-Rod really heated up there, but Julio Rodriguez needs to figure out how to have a full season. All right. This has happened now 2 years in a row. He gets off to these bad starts. Listen, I am expecting Julio Rodriguez in 2025. Listen, I'm expecting a big year. I'm expecting one. All right. I think he's going to look at the last 2 years and think, all right, okay, I've gotten off to slow starts, right? I figure it out down the stretch. I got to put together a full season. I think with Edgar Martinez in the fold, they got the new manager now, right? Got Dan Wilson there. I think J-Rod is going to have a big year next year. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Feeling it, right? But they had a lot of guys with down years, right? You know, a lot of disappointments for Seattle in the lineup, right? I mean, you know, when you're looking here, right? You know, J.P. Crawford missed a lot of time this year. I mean, I don't know. Jorge Polanco. Sorry, I was going blank on the name. You know, Jorge Polanco this year, you know, they brought him in. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, right? Because a lot of injuries, right, when he was in Minnesota. But this is a guy that you knew could do something. He did hit better down the stretch a little bit. But overall, bad year for Jorge Polanco. Cal Riley still hit for power this year. You know, hit 33 home runs. But, you know, again, they just needed this over a full year. I mean, if they got a couple more weeks out of this, I think the Mariners would be in the playoffs. I think they would be in the postseason. Don't got to worry about that pitching. Also, a report came out. They will not be trading from their rotation. Let's see. At the end of the day, you know, I think the problem with the Mariners was philosophical. I don't think it was talent. Right? Maybe they could add a bat. Let's see. I would not be surprised to see them go after some bats this offseason. I don't think they need to trade from the rotation. I guess in my opinion, I always say never say never, right? I'm always, if it were me, I would always be open to something, you know, but to say, oh no, we're not dealing from our rotation. Well, I don't know. I think to me, if the right trade comes along and, you know, if you could add an impact bat in some kind of a way, I think you should always be open to it. But hey, the Mariners, in the end, if it is a philosophical issue, let's see if they've got this fixed now. And if this is right, if everything is good now, and they can go into next year with what they've been doing here for the last couple of weeks, they should be a postseason team next year. Should be. Should be. We will see. We will see. I'm seeing some of you saying that the Twins are too high. The Twins are too high. Listen. I do have the Twins a little ahead. And here's why. I know some of you are thinking, all right, Robbie's losing it. The potato brain is kicking in. It's almost Robbie's bedtime. He needs to wrap this up. Here's why I got the Twins ahead. I think they also just had a lot of bad luck with the injuries this year. They were very hot and cold this year. I think there is some recency anger with the Twins. I still think they should have been in the postseason, right? Go back to the beginning of the year. This is a team, they were just so hot and cold, right? And I was worried about them. And I feel like I've said this a million times already. But then it seemed like they figured something out. They kind of smoothed things out. But then they started getting guys hurt. I think that was a big thing, right? You know, they had no consistency there. You lost Joe Ryan. I'm just saying, you know, Zach G, I know they couldn't beat good teams, but hey, they lost a lot of guys, right? They had a lot of their talent down. I definitely see the argument for putting the Mariners ahead. I still think when you look at the numbers with the Twins, and I'm going to say this too. I'm going to say this, you know, when people say, Zach G, I'm not trying to pick on you here, but when people say, oh, they couldn't beat good teams. I mean, go look at the records last year. What were the Texas Rangers? What was their record against teams over 500? The Texas Rangers were 42-45 against teams over 500 last year. And they still won the World Series. I'm just saying. Or the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were 40-50 against teams over 500 last year. And they made it to the World Series. So I'm just saying, it's not all about beating the good teams, because you could get your hiney kicked by all the good teams, and you could still make it to the World Series, and you could go win a World Series. We saw it last year. But I definitely agree, right? The Twins this year, when it came to their record, I mean, they did have a pretty bad record against teams over 500, 39-59. That is pretty bad. But again, they lost a lot of their players. I mean, you had Correa, who was hurt a lot. He had the plantar fasciitis. I mean, who did they have on the IL to end the year? I saw the list not too long ago. It just looked like a mile long. What was it? Wallner, Larnach, Kepler, Miranda, and Kirilloff. And then also Brooks Lee was on there not too long ago. Correa was on there. They had a lot of guys down. And then you had Joe Ryan. He missed time. He had the shoulder issue in August. Paddock, he disappeared in July. They just had a lot of injuries. I just think the Twins, they're better than what this recent losing streak was. Just in my opinion. I understand, though. I think the Mariners, you could put them ahead. I don't know. That's just me. Number 13. We got the Diamondbacks. Here we go. We're getting into the playoff teams here. We're getting into the playoff teams. Here's the thing. Here's also, Zach, you are right about that. The Twins did have a bad deadline. That was a bad deadline. I think that shot them in the foot. You know what? Do I want to make the move? Do I want to make one audible here? Put the Twins at 15? Do I do the audible? I don't know. You're convincing me here. You're convincing me. I forgot about that deadline. That was a bad deadline. All right, fine. I'll make the move. You convinced me. You convinced me. Here we go. Audible time. We're going Twins at 15. You got me. Sometimes I need to talk my way through it. The potato brain. Sometimes I just need to say some things out loud. All right, I'll do it. All right, fine. I'll go Mariners. Here's the thing. You could be annoyed about the Twins, but I'm almost more annoyed about the Mariners because the Mariners were just so bad, so mid for so long, and then you figure it out, and then you fall one game short. I'm almost more upset about that than the Twins falling apart. Because at least with the Twins, they had some injuries, right? The Mariners, they didn't know what to even do with the bats. So I think, for me at least, I think the Mariners almost kind of annoy me more than the Twins. That's just me. Anyway, 13. Let's talk about the Diamondbacks. I mean, what happened here? What did Jeff Passing just say? Oh, okay. I'm watching out for Jeff Passan tweets because is Jeff Passan going to the NBA? I mean, come on. Listen, I'm going to say one thing about Jeff Passan. Jeff Passan, if he is going to the NBA, I'm going to say this right now. I know we all love Jeff Passan. Listen, this guy is going to get a massive raise if he ends up being the NBA guy. And listen, ESPN, their moneymaker is basketball. Baseball is not a moneymaker for ESPN. Basketball and football are the moneymakers, right? Passan would be getting a fat raise if he was the NBA guy. I'm just pointing that out. So if Passan does end up getting that job, if he ends up moving to the NBA, don't hate on the guy because I guarantee if he's getting like a $5 million raise, you would not turn that down either. You would not turn that down. I hope people do not, if it ends up happening, I hope they don't criticize him for that because there's probably a lot of money involved with that. I'm just saying. Anyway, where was I? Diamondbacks. So, okay, like what happened here, right? Because the Diamondbacks, they were sitting pretty. They were looking good, right? And then they kind of just started randomly losing some games. You know, let me go look at their schedule. And let me go to, what was their record in September? Their record in September was 12-13. They were red hot in July and August. I mean, from June to August, they were fantastic. And they went 12 and they won today, right? I think they won today. Yeah, they won today. So they went 13-13 in the month of August or September, sorry. So, I mean, I know Ketel Marte, he was on the IL there. You know, he did miss some time. But you had a lot of guys just slumping. Jock Peterson just couldn't hit anything. Christian Walker went cold. Eugenio Suarez was cold. I mean, just the lineup went ice cold. You know, funny enough, they are getting actually some decent pitching as of like Gallen. He's looked all right. Kelly, Erod even. You know, they've been fine pitching-wise. And this is why you would love for Jordan Montgomery to just not be the bust that he's been this year. I mean, I don't know, man. But the bullpen, this is a strength of the Diamondbacks, you know, for a while. One of the better bullpens in the second half. You got A.J. Puck, and he gave up the big home run, you know, against the Padres yesterday. He gave up a couple of home runs. And their bullpen's been slumping as of late. So just I don't know what happened here. You know, if we go here, they won, they got the wins, you know, today, right? But you lose 2 out of 3 on the final weekend. And oh my, that was a heartbreaker last night. You couldn't score anything. And then you end up just blowing it in the 9th. And they scored 5 runs. The Padres scored 5 runs in the 9th. So that's just crazy. Like the thing is that you won 3 out of 4 against the Brewers. And then you lose 2 out of 3 against the Giants. I mean, you got shut out in game 2. You only scored 3 in game 1. But you scored 3 runs combined in games 1 and 2 against the Padres. And you broke out today. It's just crazy how they got so inconsistent towards the end of the year. But all year, the Padres, I mean, they, you know, when you look at the second half rankings, they were first in offense in the second half. Defensively, they were 5th overall on the year. Starting pitching and the relief pitching, they were a lot better in the second half, right? They were 15th in starting pitching in the second half. And then the bullpen was 12th overall in the second half. So they looked much better down the stretch than they did in the first half. They were a 500 team, and they've just completely fallen apart here. So for me, I just think for the Diamondbacks, they just fell apart at the wrong time. You know, if they had just gotten one more win here, this whole thing could be looking different. So the way that the Diamondbacks get in here is if either the Mets or the Braves drop both tomorrow in the doubleheader. So if the Mets win both, then it's the Mets and the Diamondbacks. If the Braves win both, it's the Braves and the Diamondbacks. If the Mets win one, Braves win one, Mets and the Braves are in. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to say this. I'll wait. But Diamondbacks, you had some really good years. I'll just talk about a couple of years these guys have been having. Looking at Arizona here. I mean, Ketel Marte, a fantastic year. I felt like I don't know if you consider Ketel Marte underrated this year, but I feel like a little bit, right? Because he has been excellent this year, hitting .291, a .555 on the slugging, 35 homers. That's why the injuries that he was having at the end, horrible timing, right? Corbin Carroll, remember the terrible start he got off to? He looked a lot better in the second half. He ended up finishing with a 4.0 Fangraph wins above replacement. What was that notification I just got? Cardinals are pursuing shift in philosophy. John Mozeliak, Oliver Marmol to remain in current roles. Cardinals are going through some stuff. They're going through some stuff here. What's going on with the Cardinals? I mean, they're having some kumbaya meetings over the last couple of days. What's going on here? I think Chaim Bloom sat everyone down and said, all right, we are mid. We need to fix this. Okay. Anyway, but Diamondbacks, yeah, they got some great years, right? Corbin Carroll looked better in the second half. Suarez had a good amount of power this year. Peterson was pretty solid all year, except for lately. He just completely fell off. Christian Walker, another good year, yeah. When you're looking at the pitching side of things here for Arizona, I felt like that was where they were weaker this year, right? When you look at guys, Gallen ended up with 28 starts, Fott, those guys are pretty solid. Ryan Nelson, the advanced metrics looked a lot better. But, again, you just didn't get enough here from Montgomery or Erod on the year. Kelly missed a lot of time. So I think if they get in, I think the starting pitching will be fine. But they are just praying to get in at this point. I think if they get in, they'll be a tough out. But they really shot themselves in the foot. Moving on here. Let's go to number 12. I got the Guardians. I know. I can feel it. I can smell it already. People are going to start yelling at me here. They're going to start yelling at me. Well, Robbie. Well, the Guardians won the division. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean the Guardians are at number 12? Am I the only one? This is going to come back and bite me, isn't it? Am I the only one that I'm not feeling the Guardians in the postseason? Is that just me? I mean, listen, I'm looking at the numbers. Okay? Listen, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the numbers. Listen, 15th overall in offense on the year. All right, good year from J-Ram. Great year from J-Ram. But in the second half, the offense was 23rd overall. The offense was not great in the second half. Starting pitching has not been good this year. They're 27th overall. They do have the best bullpen in the major leagues. They have a fantastic bullpen. This bullpen has been amazing. And they're also a good defensive team. So you have kind of a middle-of-the-road offense. You got J-Ram. You got Naylor, right? You got a couple of bats in there. In this first half, when it came to the Guardians offense, right? They had guys stepping up for them, right? David Fry, he was looking really good for them. Lane Thomas, he came over and was doing basically next to nothing. That didn't really help, right? So you had your guys, J-Ram, Naylor, Quan. Quan was pretty solid this year. David Fry in the first half was really stepping up for them, but they just, you're hoping for more from Kyle Manzardo this year, but you just didn't get a whole lot. When you're looking at the offense with the Guardians, it's, in my opinion, pretty middle of the road. Just felt like they lacked there, but the starting pitching this year, it was not good. Yeah, sure, Tanner Bybee, solid, but after that, right, Ben Lively, but Gavin Williams missed a lot of time this year, and he wasn't really effective overall. I mean, Tristan McKenzie just did not show up this year. I mean, you got Bybee, Lively, and Gavin Williams. And Gavin Williams had an ERA near a 5. I'm just saying, like, the Guardians, they have a great bullpen and good defense, but the offense is pretty middle of the road. Their rotation is one of the worst in Major League Baseball. Yes, they got Boyd. But, I mean, come on. I mean, yeah. Yes. Boyd, he's been pretty solid for the most part. ERA to 2.72. What was the FIP? Yeah, okay. All right, I'll give you that. You got Matthew Boyd there. You got 8 starts under his belt. So you got that. But, come on. I mean, Matthew Boyd, is he going to be a game changer in the postseason? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Matthew Boyd. Either way, though, starting pitching, it's a little to me. Offense, kind of middle of the road. You got a good bullpen, good defense. Is that going to be enough in the postseason? I don't know. I'm just not feeling the Guardians. I just don't think they match up, very well for the postseason. You need that starting pitching, and I just don't think. I don't know. Is Bybee, Lively, and Boyd? Is that going to be enough against the big teams in the postseason? I don't know. Listen, when I look at Kansas City, when I look at Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo, yeah, that's a good 1-2 punch. They've been great this year. The Guardians don't have one of those guys. I don't know. I know I'm probably going to cheese some people off with that take. I am sorry, okay? I'm just looking at the numbers, all right? Number 11, we got the Tigers. Got the Tigers at number 11. I wanted to put them in the top 10. I did. Here's the thing. Now, this power rankings, it's kind of tough because we still got 2 games tomorrow. I'm going to say this. Tigers fans, listen. You're here at 11 now. Okay, but if the Mets or the Braves, if one of those teams end up getting out, good chance. I mean, I know this is the last power ranking, so we're not going to start over tomorrow, but the Tigers, to me, if the Mets or the Braves are out, I think there's a good chance I put the Tigers in my top 10. Just saying, right? And then you can make the case for the Diamondbacks too, but I just like how the Tigers have been more lately than the Diamondbacks. So I think you could definitely make a case for the Tigers being in the top 10. Again, it's kind of the weird schedule if everything was put in place and set into place. If we didn't have this doubleheader tomorrow, let's say the Mets drop both or the Braves drop both, and the Tigers, they're probably at number 10. So either way, though, don't take this as an insult. The Tigers have been amazing. Listen, the Tigers, I think, were at 22 at one point. I mean, this second half has been absolutely crazy. Everything has just turned around with the Tigers, right? Come on. I think the one thing we need to look at here for the Tigers, you took Javier Baez out of the lineup. I think that's all you needed. That's all you needed. It was addition by subtraction. Get that guy out of the lineup, and everyone got better, right? Torkelson came back up. He looked amazing. Riley Green's been great this year. Carpenter, sure, some injuries there, but when he's been playing, he's been fantastic, right? Colt Keith, he's been looking a lot better as of late, right? You got guys just stepping up. Parker Meadows, too. He's looked a lot better in the second half. I think, I kind of went over it. I did a video on the Tigers, and there were some small differences up until the deadline and then after the deadline, because that's really when they started taking off, was August 1st, right? Maybe a little bit before that. I think they won a couple of games, but August 1st was really, in my opinion, kind of the launching pad, right? You kind of noticed when you looked at the numbers, they were hitting some more ground balls, not a ton more, but putting the ball on the ground a little bit more. That tends to lead to more hits overall. They were making better quality contact. The line drive percentage went up. They weren't getting under the ball as much. The fly ball percentage, it was very small differences, like 2%, but still, that's in the long run, that can be a decent amount. And, you just had guys with better at-bats. They were getting on base. You had these young guys stepping up for like Trey Sweeney and Jace Young. They were getting a lot more production just top to bottom. The bottom of the order for the Tigers, when you took Javier Baez out of the lineup, you just created more extension in that way because you had a guy like Trey Sweeney who can give you better at-bats, right? He's a much more disciplined hitter than Javier Baez. And you have Jace Young, who's a disciplined hitter as well. They had these guys that kind of came in and gave them some energy. And the offense was the big difference, right? They just had better at-bats. They were just taking more pitches. They were just making better selections when it came to swings, in certain counts. They're just a better team top to bottom. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say there's a World Series caliber lineup. I mean, it's a lot better. We'll see how far this lineup can go. But the one constant for the Tigers this year has been the pitching. Tarek Skubal has been the guy for them, obviously. Probably going to win the Cy Young in the American League. But they've had a lot of guys stepping up. A lot of guys getting starts, right? Reese Olson, look for him too. This guy had a solid year, under the radar kind of a year. But, they had a lot of guys come up for them and just give them a lot of production, right? If I were to go to Detroit here, when it came to the starting pitching this year, they ranked 6th overall. And yes, that does include Jack Flaherty. But second half, they were still pretty solid even without him. They had a lot of guys getting some starts, right? Like is it Bo Brisk? I am sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm going completely blank on the pronunciation. But you've had guys like, like Tyler Holton, Montero, who have been getting some starts. Montero, I wouldn't say has been amazing. The advanced metrics don't look great with him, but a guy that's been giving them some innings overall. They've just had guys stepping in, giving them starts. They've been having guys in the bullpen open up games a lot for them. Someone like Bryant Herter has just really stepped up for them this year. Tyler Holton has just been amazing for them this year. There's a lot of guys stepping up, right? And I think that's been the big key. for the Tigers here. Just guys stepping up and giving them production, right? They were just lacking that a lot in the first half. Pitching-wise, they've been solid all year. I definitely think the offense is really where the big difference lied, right? Because they were so inconsistent offensively in the first half. But yeah, the Tigers, right? Brisky. Sorry, I was like, is it Brisk or Brisky? I was trying to think. I could not remember how to. I'm sorry, Brisky. But yeah, a lot of guys stepping up for the Tigers. Gotta love it. Now, first round. I mean, if I'm looking here. One second here. Let's pull this up. So, you got a tough first matchup here. You got the Astros, right? We'll say this. We'll talk about the Astros here in a little bit, but what's going on here? What's going on with Yordan Alvarez? Listen. If they don't got Yordan Alvarez here, this could be your chance. This could be your shot. If you're the Tigers, take advantage of this. But again, I haven't seen anything with Yordan. Is there any news on him at all? All right, so Houston Chronicle, Alvarez getting closer to a return. He said he wasn't feeling great about a week ago. He still has hurdles to clear. Oh, man, are they really going to be without him for the wild card round? Oof, yeah, a couple of days ago, wild card availability now seriously in doubt. Man. Yeah, I see your point there. Yeah, the Astros came back with no Kyle Tucker and half their pitching staff on the IL. I think they'll be fine. If there is one team out there that can overcome some adversity, it's Houston. But listen, Yordan's a bat, man. That's a big bat. Luckily, you still got Tucker there, Altuve, Bregman at the top. I worry a little bit about the bottom of the order. That's the one where I'm like, ugh, when you lose someone like him against good pitching, this could be a thorn in their side. Listen, you got Skubal. And when you got Skubal for game one, that's going to be tough. So let's say you got a 1-0 deficit. Now, the way the Tigers have been putting together their pitching here, could they figure something out? Adam, I see you. Astros in 3. If they, I think Skubal, you have to give him the edge when it comes to game one. Have they announced the pitching matchups for this? Let's see. What is this? 2:30? So yeah, it'd be Skubal and Valdez. Okay. Here's the thing, man. I feel like Valdez, I don't know, man. Valdez, I feel like he's been very good in the second half, but I wonder, these Tigers bats, they're hot. I wonder if they come out swinging against him and Skubal just shuts it down. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting series. We'll see. But the Tigers, fantastic year for them. Fantastic year. Let's move on here. We're going into the top 10. Before I get to the top 10, everyone, hit that like button for me. Hit that like button. Where are we at with the likes? Can we get to 300 likes? We got 450 people here for the final power rankings of 2024. If you can help us out, get us to 300 likes. I will love you forever. If there is anyone new in the chat, if you're new in the chat, think about subscribing. We're talking baseball here all the time. And everyone, speaking of talking baseball all the time, no, I'm not talking about the channel talking baseball. I'm talking about what we're doing here on this channel. And that is tomorrow. Hold on one second here. And tomorrow we will be live for Game 2 of the Mets and the Braves. So if you want to see how that game unfolds, if you would like to come here and hang out and see how those last spots in the National League unfold, you want to come here, you want to come watch the game with us, come on down. We'll be here live tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. What time is that game tomorrow? I think what time was the first game on tomorrow? Game 2. Game 2. So game 1 is at 1:10. Oh, it's to be determined. So game 1 is at 1:10. But they don't have a time here for game 2. We're going to go live for game 2, not game 1, because game 2 is where it's going to be decided. They don't have a time for game 2. Half hour after game 1. Man, it's going to be that close, back to back? Wow. I wonder, wow. Yeah, probably 4 o'clock, 4:40 Eastern time. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we'll be live for that. All righty. Let's get to the top 10. Here we go. We got the Mets at number 10. I mean, the Mets are, listen, I mean, let's just get into this. Who knows what's going to happen here tomorrow? And I'm going to say this. I feel bad for these teams tomorrow, because it's not the way you want to settle a postseason race, right? It's just not the way you want to do it. These two teams have been going at it. You know, the Braves have had their issues. The Mets have had their issues over the last week or so. You don't want to have to settle this on a doubleheader. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. In the end, it is what it is. But the Mets, you got to give them their flowers here. They have been amazing in the second half. Absolutely amazing. And they've been getting a lot of good production this year. Just all over the place, right? If I'm looking at the Mets numbers right now, they're 8th in offense on the year, 11th in the second half. So that offense has just been consistent all year. Now, when it comes to the starting pitching, they're 20th overall on the year, but they have been getting some solid starting pitching down the stretch. A lot of guys stepping up for them. And then when you look at the bullpen, that's another good area of this team right now. They're 10th overall in the second half, 14th on the year. I'm just saying. Now, when it comes to the Mets, I think an underrated factor about this team is the defense, right? Lindor is a big part of that defense at shortstop. But this is a pretty well-rounded team. Now, if they had Kadai Senga healthy, oof. I mean, my goodness. I mean, what a team this would be. I mean, it would be in the postseason. It would be done. There wouldn't even be any doubleheader tomorrow. It would be like, all right, whatever. We don't need to do that. It's unfortunate they didn't have Senga this year, but they've been getting it done without him. This is a Mets team that has stepped up in just such a big way this year. Lindor has been the star of the show, right? About a month ago, you're looking at Lindor being, in that MVP conversation. And then Ohtani, he just said, excuse me? No, Lindor is not in the conversation. Let me go 6 for 6 and hit like 18 home runs in a game and finish off my 50-50 in style. Yeah, so at that point, it was already done. It was done before that, but it was definitely done at that point. But when you look at some of these other guys here on the team, Vientos, Alonso have stepped up in just a big way this year. Vientos more so. What a great year for Vientos overall. Brandon Nimmo's been solid, right? They've been getting a lot of guys here. Jesse Winker, he's been stepping up for them after coming over in the trade deadline. Had the big walk-off there not too long ago. But then, when you look at someone like a Luis Angel Acuna, he's come up and he's done some things, right? He's contributed, right? So they're getting these young guys that are stepping up in big ways. The starting pitching, you have to give the starting pitching a lot of credit. Like I said, if you had Kadai Senga here, this team's in the postseason, right? But who saw Sean Manaea having the year that he's had? I think the haircut. Listen, what I thought about? I got to do a video on players that have gotten haircuts and they have great years. It's a thing. Guys get haircuts and they just go crazy. Sean Manaea, there was a picture. I don't know if people remember this picture about Sean Manaea. Someone photoshopped it, Remember he had the long hair and someone like photoshopped like an actual dog into his hair, and it was hilarious. My goodness, that guy's hair was nuts. But he cut the hair, and he's had himself a great year. You know, when you look at Manayer, 180 innings, 3.47 on the ERA, solid advanced metrics. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, look in the chat. We got Vladdy. I mean, look at Vladdy after the haircut. Guy, I was like, who the heck is that guy? And he's been amazing. I got to do a video. Haircuts. Guys that cut their hair and had great years. Or got hot, whatever you want to call it. David Peterson stepped up this year. Severino's been a solid pickup for them this year. Great pitching, right? Edwin Diaz had his bumps in the beginning of the year. But listen. Edwin Diaz, I still remember, you know, when he was going through his struggles in the beginning of the year. I'm just thinking, like, this guy is going to have to work through some bumps here, and he has really gotten himself together. He's had himself a solid year overall, but they've had a lot of guys stepping up in this bullpen. Jose Buto, you know, Maton, Reed Garrett, he was fantastic in the beginning of the year. Imagine if they didn't have Reed Garrett while Edwin Diaz was going through his bumps. Reed Garrett stepped up for them in a big way. You know, a lot of guys just giving them good production in this bullpen. It's a solid team. And I said this coming into the year. I said, look, don't sleep on this Mets team. A lot of people, remember when JD Martinez signed with the Mets and he said, yeah, I want to go to a playoff contender. Do you know how many people ragged on JD Martinez for that? I know some of you are in this chat. Don't you hide. I know you are. I know there were so many people when he made those comments after he signed. People were like, "You wanted to sign with the playoff contenders? Well, why'd you go to the Mets?" Well, he's got the last laugh. I'm just saying here, the Mets they are one win away from going to the postseason. I mean, what a great team! What a great team! Even if they, you know what, I'm gonna really hate. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna really hate this if they lose both the games tomorrow. That's the only thing people are going to talk about. That's what stinks about that, because they've had a good year. They have completely exceeded expectations this year. CCG, I'm going to laugh if the Mets get swept. I mean, listen, this is their chance to end LOL Mets for good. This is their moment. If they don't want LOL Mets to come back, this is the time. They need to do it. The job's not done. But I know. I know. I see you in the chat. You know, you're saying here, we will all laugh. I just hope it doesn't happen. I hope, because they've had a really good year. They've had a good year. Lucas, LOL Mets is the law. This is happening. Oh, we'll see. I got the Braves at number 9. Listen, the offense has been a problem with the Braves. It's been a problem. And it was a problem once again today. What was the final score today? I think it was, what was it again? 2-1? 3-1? I believe. 4-2, sorry. 4-2. But yeah, not really scoring all that much. You know, 2 runs yesterday, 3 runs Friday. I mean, listen, they did what I said. Didn't I say this? I said they would win 2 out of 3 against the Royals. Remember, in my predictions last time, I did say they were going to win 2 out of 3. And I said they were going to win 2 out of 3 against the Mets and the Royals. I said they were going to finish strong. I also said, don't be surprised if they sweep the Mets. Here's the thing. What are the pitching matchups? So the Mets have not announced their pitcher. Do we have... Who is the pitcher for Game 1 tomorrow? Schwellenbach is going Game 1. Have the Mets announced a starter anywhere? Is there any news on it? McGill? It's McGill. Oh. Is it really? Oh, no. Well, I mean... He's been pitching pretty well lately. What was the last? He did pretty well in his last start. Or against Washington. He went 6 innings, 1 run. He didn't pitch that much against the Phillies. He went 4 innings, 1 earned. He has been pretty in Toronto. He pitched pretty good. He's actually been all right for a little bit. He's not going as deep into games as you would want. I don't know. We'll see. Now, who's pitching game 2? Is there any rumor out there for game 2? I will say this. If the Mets throw a lefty in game 2, the Braves hit lefties well. That, I think, could come back to bite them. So I think they're going by like a game by game. Okay, I see you in the chat. Sale is game 2 if we lose. Elder if then. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it really comes down to, yeah. But I don't know if they if the Mets lose game 1, and they have a lefty go game 2. We'll see. Because, like I said, the Braves, they've hit lefties well this year. But, again, talking about the Braves, it's been, a yin and a yang team this year. 17th overall at offense, but they're first in starting pitching. The offense, it has been so frustrating. Braves fans, I can't even imagine how frustrating this year has been for you as a Braves fan, right? You didn't think you were going to lose Ronald Acuna Jr. You didn't think you were going to lose Austin Riley. You didn't think you were going to lose Ozzie Albies. He is back now, but man, just a lot of guys. But they've also had a lot of guys just not stepping up this year, man. Goodness gracious, right? Sean Murphy, he has had some injuries this year, but goodness gracious, you need more out of someone like that. Remember how good of a start he got off to last year? I mean, good grief. He was looking great at one point last year, but Duvall has not been good. Soler, he's brought in some production since coming over. Jared Kelenic. What happened to Jared Kelenic? This guy got off to a great start this year. What the heck happened to Jared Kelenic this year? I mean, he's where is he right now? He's on the bench. I mean, my goodness, this guy hasn't been doing anything. I mean, Arcia hasn't done anything with the bat. Urshela, it's been whatever. Now, Ozuna's had an amazing year. I mean, look at the year Ozuna's been having, man. 306, 383, 556, 39 homers. Matt Olson really took off in the last month or so, a couple of months. He's been hitting a lot better here. Michael Harris has been picking it up here. So is this going to be, let's say they make the postseason. They got the pitching to get this done. Also a great bullpen. This bullpen has been lights out. My goodness. Unbelievable. Very good bullpen. But is it going to be enough? So I think with the Braves, if they can put together enough offense, this is a team where the pitching can carry this team. I mean, listen, when you got Sale and Fried, Lopez did just come back. Let's see how he is. You got someone like Morton if you needed a 4th guy or a 5th guy. I mean, Morton, this is a guy that's postseason. He's battle-tested. He's a clutch guy. Schwellenbach's been amazing this year. They got pitching that can carry them. If they can just get enough hits, enough runs, right? I love the pitching. And listen, with the Braves, they're a lot better defensively this year too. Not the best team defensively. They're more middle of the road, but this is a team that had issues defensively last year, and they've been a lot better. But I think if this Braves team, if they get in, they're going to be a hard out. Because, again, yeah, maybe they score 2-3 runs, but they can shut you out. So, the Braves, it's been a frustrating year. I still think they're a good team. We'll see if they can get enough. We'll see. Number 8, we got the Royals. Royals, man. Hey, Vinny Pasquantino. Looks like he's going to be ready to go for the wild card round. Now, is there going to be maybe a little bit of rust there? We'll see. We'll see with the Kansas City Royals. But, listen, coming into the year, I thought this was going to be a team where they had a fun offseason. They brought in some guys, but was it going to be enough? I didn't think it was going to be enough. They completely proved me wrong. It's not easy to prove me wrong. I am very wrong a lot. But, listen, they got a lot of guys this year that just did great things. Obviously, Bobby Wick Jr., he would be the leading MVP candidate if it wasn't for Aaron Judge just having a ridiculous year. What an amazing year for Bobby Wick Jr. But they need Pasquantino back in a big way. They need him back in a big way, man, because this offense has been struggling since he's been out of the lineup, right? You've had MJ Melendez, he's had a couple of moments this year, but I'd say a pretty underwhelming season for MJ Melendez. I would say a disappointing year. You know, I don't know, Michael Massey's just not really doing all that much here. Frazier, DeYoung got hot there for a little bit, but he's cooled off. Freddie Furman not doing all that much. This lineup needs more than Bobby Wick Jr. and Salvador Perez. Pasquantino, if he's back and he's good to go, and if rust is not going to be a thing for him, then yeah, I think the Royals, they could do some things offensively. Now with the pitching, you got Reagans and Lugo. What a 1-2 punch. Great years for those guys. Reagans, I expected this, but Lugo has been amazing this year, right? Over 200 innings, ERA at a 3, FIP looks solid. Cole Reagans, good amount of strikeouts this year. That's a good 1-2 punch, right? The Royals have a chance in the postseason because of those guys, right? They've gotten guys in this bullpen stepping up lately. Ursig has been a great pickup for them. Bubic has been pitching very well lately. Lynch has been pitching well. Zerp has been pitching well. They got a lot of guys stepping up here. A lot of guys. Pitching-wise, I'm not worried about this Royals team. They just need some bats here to step up, right? You've brought in some guys, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know. Now, when you're looking at the where did this go? Hold on a second. Now, for the Royals, you got Baltimore. Here's the thing with so I'll get to Baltimore in just a little bit. But do the Royals have enough pitching to be able to get by Baltimore? Like I said, you got Lugo and Reagans. That's pretty good. But the Orioles, they do have a good amount of bats. I feel like the Orioles can match up with them well. You got Corbin Burns, right? Listen, remember last year? Also Waka. Yes, thank you, Zach. Yes, Waka is a good option there too. But remember last year, Corbin Burns in the wild card round, he wasn't anything great, right? Diamondbacks got to him. Let's see. So you're going to have Reagans and Corbin Burns game 1. We'll see. Now, granted, Burns ran into a hot Diamondbacks team. So will it be a little different this time around? I think Burns also, he's pitched very well against the Royals. It could be a bad matchup for KC. Could be a bad matchup. I think the Orioles, I think you have to give them the edge. They're at home too. We'll see. But in the end for the Royals, they've had a great year. A great year. Got the Astros at 7. This might be a little bit low. Like I was saying earlier, I am worried about Yordan Alvarez. I am worried about Alvarez. Worried. Again, they got bats. I'm not worried about Tucker and Altuve and Bregman. But the bottom of the order, they're kind of lacking there, right? When you take him out, you're losing a lot of extension. Just a lot of it. They need him back. Again, Scooble, game 1. And then the way they've been putting things together, Tigers, this could be a chance for a team to finally knock off the Astros early in the postseason. It sounds crazy. But man, I don't know. This could end up being a bad matchup for the Astros. But you have to remember with the Astros, they've been to 7 straight American League Championship Series. They've been to a few World Series along the way. This is an Astros team that you cannot count out. Ever. At all. No matter how bad the circumstances are, they always step up. When you think they're finally going to go down, they laugh at you, and then they laugh at you some more. and then they laugh a little bit more, right? When it comes to the Astros, I mean, yes, Alvarez, that's been their best guy. That's been their big bat. That's a tough loss if they don't have him. But Tucker, very solid. Bregman, good year overall. Now, Bregman, in my opinion, he's not the big bopper that you're really counting on to like carry you through a postseason, but a guy that you want in your lineup. He's had a solid year overall. Altuve, solid, right? You know, Yainer Diaz, solid. Pena, he's fine. You know, but again, it kind of drops off after that. That's where I get a little bit worried. All right. Now, we're talking earlier about how pitching can carry you. The Astros pitching, oh my goodness, in the rotation has stepped up in a huge way in the second half. First, in starting pitching in the second half, Framber Valdez has been amazing. Kikuchi has been a great pickup. Blanco has just been ridiculous all year. I mean, what a great year for him. Hunter Brown has really stepped up this year. Finally has a breakout year. Yeah. When you got this starting pitching, you know, yeah, even without Alvarez, you have a great chance. All right. Bullpen, Hader and Abreu. Abreu's had his bumps, right, this year, but he's figured it out for the most part. Hader had his bumps early on, but he's gotten it figured out here. You got Presley back there too. You got guys at the back end of this bullpen that can go in there and shut it down. You know, I think they have enough depth in this bullpen as well where I'm not worried about the pitching. They've got guys here that can get this done. Again, they're just going to need to find a way. If they don't have Yordan, they're going to have to find a way to scrap some runs across the board because that's such a big bat to lose, man. Such a big bat. But the Astros, once again, having a great year. Going to number 6. Got the Orioles. I'm kind of shocked about this one. But the Orioles have not been... they have not been inspiring me in the second half. I'm thinking, all right, they're fine. They'll be all right. But then it kind of just kept going. And they just kind of slogging through, you know, and it kind of wondering here. It's like, I don't know, like they look great in the first half. I mean, obviously Gunnar Henderson with an amazing year this year. I mean, this guy's been absolutely fantastic. Got a lot of guys stepping up with the bats this year. All right, Kowser, good solid rookie year. Santander, obviously 44 home runs on the year. But Rushman, he has not looked great with the bat in the second half. Got off to a pretty good start. But his plate discipline, what is going on with Adley Rushman's plate discipline this year? The on-base percentage is so down compared to last year. It looks like he's being more aggressive this year. I don't know if that's been an approach that just got him kind of out of whack and he's lost. But you got guys overall up and down this lineup that can get things done, right? Westberg can go do some things for you. Mullins has looked a lot better as of late. Mountcastle's got that little bit of power there. You know, they got guys, right? You were hoping for guys like Kerstad, obviously Jackson Holiday, you know, maybe do something. You know, Jackson Holiday this year. A lot of hype about him coming into the year, but, you know, I think this is a clear example of a guy that is, you know, doesn't have a great first year, but he's going to end up being a great player. I think he's going to be one of those, all right? But the Orioles, man, you know, I don't know, they just haven't been inspirational in the second half. Now, when it comes to the postseason, I do think, even though they've had so many injuries in the postseason, or leading up to the postseason, right? Obviously, you know, Bradish, you lost him early on. Grayson Rodriguez more recently has been dealing with some stuff. I still think they could be okay. I mean, like I said with Burns, right? Didn't look great in the wild card round last year. This is a different situation. He's had a great year for them. Eflin, I think, was a good, solid pickup at the deadline, right? So you're good 1-2. As long as you got two guys, you would like to have that third guy. But I think, you know, if you got two that can really carry you, I think the Orioles, they're in good shape here. They're going to have, you know, Albert Suarez has been a great story this year. They're going to have to get more out of him. for this year. He's going to have to keep that going. Dean Kramer, at this point, Dean Kramer's, a 4 or 4 or 5 in the rotation. They're going to need a little bit more out of him. But when you look at the situation, the Orioles had a great year last year, but they just were completely overmatched in the postseason. This year, it's a lot different with Corbin Burnes in the fold. They didn't have this last year, right? You were counting on Dean Kramer, to get you out of a bind, and that just, it's not going to get it done. Burnes and Eflin, this is going to be a much better situation, right? I think the Orioles, they got a few wins there, over the last week or so. I think this is a team, they are set up pretty well for the postseason, right? A little inconsistent in the second half, but this is a team, when you look at the deep lineup, you got the 1-2, they're pretty good there. Then when you look at the bullpen, now I will say, the bullpen, it is a little iffy. You got guys in here with some pretty good stuff, right? You got Dominguez, he can do some things. Cano's had a good year. Soto, he scares the crap out of me, though. You got guys, Webb and Aiken, they've been productive in the bullpen this year. I'm just thinking about the back end of the bullpen. They got stuff, right? They're just going to have to get the results, right? They got guys that can get the job done. I think the Orioles, they absolutely have a chance to get to the World Series. They just have, I know it sounds like duh, but they just have to put it together. They got the guys to get this done. They got a complete postseason team, in my opinion. In a way, I don't know, they kind of remind me of the Rangers last year. Does that make sense? I feel like that might sound a little crazy because they got the lineup. Obviously they don't have Corey Seager, right? They don't have a guy like that. Well, never mind. I take that back. You got Gunnar Henderson. But you had Corey Seager, Semien. Is Henderson and Santander going to be that combo from last year, right? But you had other guys in that lineup that really stepped up for them, like Evan Carter, right? Guys that just came up in big spots. I feel like the Orioles have that lineup. Not the same, but you got guys that are capable of doing damage in the postseason. Kind of like the Rangers were last year. The Rangers, when you looked at the pitching, right? You go back to that pitching staff, right? You had Eovaldi, Montgomery. You really counted on those two guys. And this year, for the Orioles, you got Burnes and Eflin, right? And then you go to that Rangers. Remember how bad the Rangers bullpen was? But they had guys that had stuff. And they stepped up in the postseason. So I feel like you could be seeing a similar team. I don't know if I sound just ridiculous. I don't know if that makes any sense, but they kind of remind me of the Rangers last year. We'll see. But a great year for the Orioles. They're a solid team. Number 5, let's get into it here. Top 5, we got the Brewers. Just a solid team. When you look at I will say this. First half, the starting pitching was not looking good. You didn't have Burnes. You had Peralta still, but you just weren't really getting a whole lot of production. Then, you've added Savali. You've added Montas. They've been a lot better in the second half. Now, I wouldn't say they have a top 5 rotation, but they got guys here that can go and give you some innings. Peralta, this is a guy that can go out there and he can shove. Savali, Montas, they can go give you some innings. Myers had an underrated year. Brea, solid. They got guys in this rotation that can get the job done. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to go, throw gems, but they can do something for you, which is great because this bullpen has been great. You got Devin Williams doing his thing, Trevor McGill having a good year. You got some other guys in here. Pyams has been pitching very well lately. All right. You got Ashby doing some things as of late. Koenig doing some things. You got guys at the back end here that can get the job done. So if this rotation can get to the back end of the bullpen, hand it off at the end of the game, Brewers got a shot. Now, this is where you would love to have Christian Yelich. He was having an amazing year, and then he got hurt. So that stinks. But you got guys here, right? Jackson Chourio has had a great second half. Willy Adames has been great all year. William Contreras, solid year. Both offensively and defensively. Rhys Hoskins, he's come back this year after missing an entire year, 26 home runs. So they have guys in this lineup that can get the job done. All right, even Joey Ortiz, right? Was looking pretty good in the beginning of the year. He's cooled off since then. He has been pretty hot as of late. I will say that about Joey Ortiz. So I just think this is a solid team, right? I was very iffy on the Brewers in the beginning of the year. I was very iffy about them just because the rotation wasn't inspiring me. And, they didn't have Devin Williams at the time, right? But when you look at how they are now, they just look pretty solid overall. And then I will also mention this about the Brewers. They got good defense. Listen, we need to stop underrating defense. The Rangers last year, they had good defense. Just saying. The Diamondbacks last year had good defense. Teams, and it's funny because teams will tell you this all the time, right? You look at how things are going when it comes to how organizations are building their teams. You hear so much more these days about run prevention. Good defensive teams, they tend to have more success. The Rangers last year had a great defense. Diamondbacks, good defense. The Brewers this year, third in defense. So they got solid pitching in the rotation, good bullpen, got enough bats. Would love to have Yelich there. That would be nice. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. And you got a good defense. Overall, a pretty well-rounded team for Milwaukee. And they just kind of cakewalked through that division this year. We'll see. When it comes to the first round, now they're waiting to see what ends up happening here. Who ends up being that 6th seed. Who would they want to play? If I'm Milwaukee, I wouldn't want to play the Braves. I worry about not having Yelich there. Maybe Brewers fans, maybe they might be thinking that I'm maybe overrating it. I don't know. I just feel like when you lose a bat, that's big. It's kind of like Alvarez in a way, right? Yelich was really good. I wouldn't want to go up against the Braves. I wouldn't want to do that. They got good pitching. Now the Mets, I think the Brewers, I think they would I'd want to go up against them. Maybe that's me. I think I'd want to go up against the Mets personally. Diamondbacks, to me, if they get in, Diamondbacks are a good team. They kind of coughed it up here in the last week. If they get in, I still think a good team. I would want the Mets if I'm the Brewers personally, because that Braves pitching, I think, will shut them down. That's just me. Anyway, moving on. We got a few more teams here. We're getting into the almost the wee hours here. Number 4. I'm gonna make some people mad here. I think I'm gonna make some people mad. I got the Phillies at number 4. I don't know. They just haven't been playing all that great in the second half. Not all that great. Not that great in the second half. I don't know. They've just been kind of slogging their way through. You all know, I was high on the Phillies, man. I was high on the Phillies. Someone's asking in the chat, where are the Tigers? The Tigers were at number 11. Had the Tigers at 11. They could be number 10 if the Mets end up losing both of their games tomorrow. The Tigers will be 10. But the Phillies, listen, they had such a good first half. Overall in the year, the Phillies, they're 6th in offense. I lost track. Third in starting pitching, and they're sixth in relief pitching. Very balanced team. But when you look at the offense, it kind of it wasn't a very good offense still in the second half, but it took a slight step back there. The bullpen, believe it or not, in the second half for the Phillies, 17th overall in the bullpen in the second half, and 16th overall with the starting pitching. So the pitching hasn't been as consistent in the second half, right? You got great years, obviously, from Wheeler, Nola, right? Let's pulling up the numbers. Wheeler had a great year again. Nola, an Aaron Nola kind of a year, gave you almost 200 innings. ERA in the mid-threes. Christopher Sanchez really stepped up this year. But Ranger Suarez, he got off to a great start and then kind of just started not really doing all that much, right? I don't know. But for the postseason, the Phillies, we know what they can do in the postseason, right? They're set up for the postseason very well. Wheeler, Nola, that's your 1-2 punch. You've been riding those guys for the last 2 years. And listen, the bullpen has not been as effective in the second half, believe it or not, even though they got Carlos Estevez and Tanner Banks. But, Carlos Estevez, actually, taking a look here, has not been pitching great as of late. Hoffman took the L on Saturday. Banks took the L earlier this week. I don't know. Phillies bullpen, maybe it's just kind of whatever. They're just waiting to get to the postseason. I saw someone mention this. Where did I see this? Maybe it was X. Maybe it was Reddit. I don't know. I can't remember. But the Phillies winning the division. Remember, people were saying, oh, the Phillies, they were the wild card, right? The last couple of years. Remember how the Braves, remember how they got iced? Could this happen with the Phillies? I don't know. Maybe this could end up being good for them. They get maybe a couple of guys dinged up. Maybe it ends up helping them out, gives them a couple of days off here. But could we maybe see the Phillies get iced? Listen, don't forget about these wild card teams, right? We've seen these wild card teams. Remember that was such a big story last year. Hey, don't forget about it. Just saying. I don't know. We'll see. But, in the end, the Phillies have been amazing this year. They've been fantastic. Pulling up some numbers here. It's hard to really find anything bad about the Phillies, right? Harper, great year. Again, Trey Turner. Remember Trey Turner got off to such a bad start last year? He has been very good this year. Did miss some time, though. Alec Bohm, great year. Kyle Schwarber, all the power. Now, Nick Castellanos, he did heat up a little bit down the stretch. He ended up finishing okay. Had 23 home runs, right? Bryson Stott, good defensively, not much with the bat. JT Realmuto, he was okay offensively. Brandon Marsh, who's the platoon. They brought in Austin Hayes for the platoon, right? So they got the big bats. They got the arms in the rotation. They got good arms at the back end of the bullpen. I do wonder, though. I am curious to see, can the Phillies still have the same success winning the division and having to take a few days off instead of playing in the wild card like they have the last couple of years? We haven't seen division winning Phillies. We've seen wild card winning Phillies. I don't know. I know that's kind of radio talk. There's not really any numbers that back that up. Well, except for last year, right? In the last couple of years, we've seen these wild card teams. They tend to do pretty well. We'll see. But the Phillies, obviously, they're very good. I do have them at number 4, though. They were consistently a number 1 team for me. Number 3, I got the Yankees. At number 3. I thought about putting the Yankees at number 1, to be honest with you. I really did. I actually really gave it some thought. But the Yankees, we know the deal with the Yankees, right? They tend to they're the butt of the joke a lot. But you know what? For the Yankees this year, listen, I think they got a really good team for the postseason. They got a good team for the postseason. You got Soto, Judge in the lineup, right? What I like about this is that now Judge, he finally has someone else with him in the postseason. Let's see if that actually does something, right? But Glaber, he's been hitting a little bit better as of late. Stanton is back now. You know, he's been back a little bit now. You remember he missed some time, so you got these guys here. Jazz Chisholm has been an amazing pickup. I am very excited to see what Jazz Chisholm can do here in the postseason. I mean, yes, they were in the postseason last year with the Marlins, right? But I am excited to see what he can do here with the Yankees in the postseason. Very excited to see that. He has been a great pickup for them. He's brought over exactly what they needed. They needed speed. They needed a bat. Perfect. He's been great, right? And finally, Jason Dominguez is getting playing time. I mean, let's see what he does. I mean, they should have put him in this lineup so much longer ago. Goodness gracious. They were riding Verdugo for so long. I mean, it's a crime that Dominguez was not in the lineup for that long. I mean, my goodness. Imagine if he was actually hitting well going into the postseason. But, you know, let's see what he can do. But the Yankees, right? Obviously, you got Cole here. He's been pitching pretty well for the most part the last few starts. He did get roughed up by my Red Sox not too long ago, but he's been pretty solid for the most part. You got Rodon here. You got Heel having a good year. Clark Schmidt, you know, I think it's an interesting debate. I saw Johnny Lasagna post on X not too long ago, and he was saying, who would you rather start, Luis Heel or Clark Schmidt? I think it's interesting, right? Because Luis Heel, he's got the stuff, but maybe Clark Schmidt is a guy where you can kind of count on him to kind of maybe get you through a good 5-6 innings, maybe gives up a couple of runs. Luis Heel has a lot of, in my opinion, boom or bust. Good stuff. He could definitely throw a gem, but then, you know, you've seen a couple of times where, you know, maybe he can get let's see if he can, you know, maybe you could end up getting lit up a little bit. I don't know. Stroman, he's there, right? He's there for depth really at this point. But you got guys here for games 1, 2, 3. that I think the Yankees are set up pretty nicely. They seem to have figured out this bullpen. Clay Holmes, pretty much out of the closer role at this point. Luke Weaver, he's been getting a lot of opportunities. He's actually been very good in this bullpen. Who would have thought Luke Weaver would end up being this good of a pickup for them? But I think the Yankees, sure, they've had some disappointments this year, right? But I think they're set up pretty well here in the American League, right? If we're looking at, let me go to the bracket. So they're either going to go up against Kansas City or Baltimore. I think they match up pretty well, I would say. Kansas City, obviously you got the Reagans, Lugo, 1-2. Orioles, you got Burns, Eflin. The problem with that, remember, wild card round, you're going to burn through some guys. So I think the Yankees would have the advantage in the early going in a 5-game series. But then if it's the Orioles, once Burns and Eflin go, I mean, that puts you right back into the game. Reagans, Lugo, once those guys are back on the mound, puts you right back in the series. So I think the Yankees, they'll definitely have the edge in game 1 with Garrett Cole. But I think the Royals and the Orioles, they definitely would have a fighting chance against the Yankees. I would say more so the Orioles because I think they have the deeper lineup. But we'll see here. I think the Yankees, either way, they're going to be a tough out no matter who they go up against. I think they can get by Baltimore or Kansas City. We'll see. Here's the thing. I will say this. They're going to have more than Judge and Soto. You can't just count on those guys. You need guys like Jazz to do something. You need someone to step up in this postseason. Someone else, right? Does that end up being Stanton? Does it end up being Jazz? Could Glaber come alive? Could Volpe somehow, some way, by the grace of God, come alive? Someone. They're going to have some more guys step up. They're going to need the bottom of the order to do some things, right? But they definitely have a better shot with Soto and Judge. Number 2. Ooh, we're about to get hot here. We're about to get hot. I had to leave a juicy ending. Well, we got 2 teams left. 2 teams left. We got the Padres and we got the Dodgers. Who is going to go 1-2? And some of you might even be thinking, well, what, the Padres? The Padres in the top 2? Listen, I'm hot on the Padres right now. I am feeling good about San Diego. I am liking me some Slam Diego right now. Okay? Listen, I don't know who needs to hear this, but San Diego right now, they're playing great. They got some good bats, good pitching, both in the rotation and in the bullpen. The Dodgers, though, listen, the Dodgers lineup has been so good this year. Shohei Ohtani, obviously, right? But you got Mookie, you got Freeman, you got some other guys stepping up in this lineup as well. Now, the Dodgers, when it comes to the starting pitching, obviously they're having a lot of injuries right now. However, for the postseason, I think they actually might be okay. I think they might be all right. I know that might sound crazy, but when I'm looking at the Dodgers, right, Jack Flaherty has obviously had a great year. Buehler looked better his last time out. Yamamoto still looking all right. So you have 3 guys here that can do some things in the postseason. You got 3 guys in the postseason. All right. Now, if I'm looking at it from a regular season point of view, if I'm not even thinking just playoffs, right? Both teams have advantages, right, when it comes to an argument for the number 1 spot, right? The Dodgers offense, the Padres offense is good, but the Dodgers offense, I think we can all agree, it is better. The Dodgers offense is definitely better, in my opinion, right? I mean, listen, I see you in the chat. EAHL Light. This guy is a joke if he puts the Padres over the Dodgers. Well, listen, I'm just saying the Padres were number 1 in the Fangraphs power rankings last week. I don't know. Fangraphs, are they a joke? I'm just saying. Where was I? Dodgers. Better lineup, in my opinion. The starting pitching. The Dodgers have been dinged up, but they've still been getting some okay starting pitching, at least lately. Guys have been kind of coming back here a little bit. But it's still a little worrisome. Bullpen. I do like the Dodgers bullpen as of late. They have been getting some good performances in the bullpen. Padres bullpen has been pretty good too. All right. Let's see. Padres, they're 7th overall on the year. And then in the second half, they're 2nd, right? They picked up a few good guys at the deadline, right? Got Tanner Scott. You got Adams there. They have a decent bullpen. So I am interested to see in what all of you think here. We're going to do this. Let's do this. We are going to do a new poll. Who is number 1? And don't be biased. Try not to be biased. I know I have a lot of Dodger fans in here. This is not going to sway my decision. Or at least I don't think it will. New poll is up, everyone. Who is number one? Dodgers or the Padres? This is intense. I can feel it. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh. Padres fans are showing up. I don't know. I mean, Dodger fans, where are you at? Where are the Dodgers fans at? Oh, no. Man, I know I got a lot of California fans, but I thought I had more Dodger fans than Padres. I'm seeing what you're all saying here in the chat. Seeing a lot of you bringing up the Dodgers postseasons from before. Listen, that is a thing. But we're looking at this year. Craz 951, Padres bullpen choked last series. I mean, but the what? But the Padres won 2 out of 3. They won 2 out of 3 against the D-backs. Against a team that needed to get into the postseason. Padres did take the season series 8-5. I'm actually not too big on the season series, you know, because we've seen so many times before where they match up again in the postseason and it doesn't even mean anything. Dodgers are hot right now. The Dodgers are pretty hot right now. 50. Is it 50-50? Wow, ended up going 50-50. You're not helping me out at all, people. Dang. Well, now I'm going to have, how many people voted? 267 people? Well, I'm going to have at least 120, 130 of you mad at me. Great. Can't wait. I can't wait to have all the mean comments from one side. It always makes me feel great waking up. But here we go. Let's just go over the numbers one more time. These are not my opinions. These are the numbers, everyone. These are the numbers. Dodgers, number 1 in offense. Padres, number 5. Dodgers have the edge when it comes to the offense. Starting pitching. The Dodgers ranked 19th overall. Dodgers fans, listen. They're 19th overall in starting pitching. That's not that great. A lot of injuries, right? San Diego, 5th in starting pitching. 5th in starting pitching. The bullpen, Dodgers are number 11. Solid bullpen. But the Padres are 7th. Defense. Let's talk about the defense. The Padres are 20th. The Dodgers are 18th. So, I'd say pretty even for the most part. So, I guess, what do you care about more? Do you care about the Dodgers' better offense? Or do you care about the Padres' better pitching? Jacob, Robbie, do you know what power rankings means? I don't think so. Who knows what the heck power rankings actually even means? I don't look at records. I look at stats. I look at everything, right? Go by feel a little bit. You could go either way here, I think. Now, if you want to just look at record, the Dodgers have the best record in Major League Baseball, all right? Have the best record. I think, let's just talk about this before I reveal my final 1-2 before I reveal it. I like this Padres lineup. I do, right? I love the extension of the lineup. It's not the Dodgers lineup by any means. It's not. But I do like the Padres lineup. I like Arise as the leadoff hitter. Tatis in the 2 spot. Profar with a great year. Machado, solid year. Merrill in the 5 spot. Great rookie year. Bogarts has been hitting better. They are pretty solid 1 through 6. Cronenworth at 7, I think, is decent. He's having an okay year. They're kind of whatever in the 8-9 spot. Overall, I like the Padres lineup. I do. When it comes to the Dodgers lineup, I mean, come on. 1 through 4. I mean, there's no better 1 through 4 in the game. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar. I mean, good grief. Are you kidding me? And then you go 5 through 9, and they're solid. I mean, even the back half, right? Muncy, even though he was hurt this year, still giving you some power over a 500 slugging. Will Smith, solid. Tommy Edman, he's been picking it up. Gavin Lux, he's shown some things this year, more than he has in the last couple of years. Finally, actually, he's been doing something this year. Miguel Rojas, he's fine at number 9. Obviously, this 1 through 4, it blows away the Padres. And the back end of the bullpen. Now, here's the thing with the Dodgers. When it comes to the back end of the bullpen, I really like it for the postseason, right? Kopech has been amazing for them. Training, solid. I mean, look at Blake Training, man. 1.93 ERA. Are you kidding me? Good grief. Phillips, Hudson, Vesia has been an amazing year in that bullpen. This is a great bullpen for the Dodgers. The Padres got a good bullpen, too. I mean, good grief. You got Suarez, Scott, and Adam back there. Now, Tanner Scott did take an L the other night. Morejon took an L. Now, I will say this. I think I like the back end of the bullpen for the Padres. I think the Dodgers have some more arms. I like the depth of the Dodgers bullpen a little bit more. So I think you can go either way for the bullpens. Lineup, slight edge to the Padres. Now it comes down to the rotation. I mean, listen. Dylan Cease, great year. Musgrove has been pitching great as of late. Darvish, solid. And you got Perez and obviously Michael King. Michael King has been great too. I'm very intrigued to see how, what is the, when it comes to the Padres pitching matchups, have they announced their pitching matchups? No. I mean, so they're still waiting on the wild card winner or the other wild card winner. So they haven't said anything. I would imagine it's going to be Cease for game 1. I would think you go Musgrove game 2, and then you probably go Michael King game 3, or would you go Darvish game 3? How are they going to do that? Are they going to leave Darvish for out of the top 3? I would think you got to have Michael King go. I think you'd have to go King in either game 2 or 3, I would think. So, X-Spratted. It's going to be Cease, Musgrove, King. So, yeah, they have good matchups here. Yes, good problem to have. I see you in the chat. Yeah, you Darvish. I mean, hey, if you got him for a game 4, that's pretty solid. Now, when I'm looking at the Dodgers, oh my God, it's not even, it doesn't compare. It just doesn't compare. I mean, Flaherty has been great. But Buehler's been up and down. Yamamoto obviously came back from injury recently, but he has looked pretty solid. Actually, what did he do in his start after? I'm going blank. Game log. I mean, he looked good against the Royals, 4 innings. Atlanta looked good. Colorado, bumpy. And then bumpy again, but he went 5. I don't know. I don't know what to think of Yamamoto at this point. You know? It's tough. I really hate that the Dodgers don't have a fully healthy rotation. What's even going on with Kershaw at this point? I mean, can't believe you lost Glasnow. I don't know, man. When I'm looking at the overall teams, the Dodgers definitely finished with a better record. The Padres have come on strong in the second half. Now, the Dodgers didn't have a bad second half by any means. You're probably all thinking, oh my goodness, get to it already. But when it comes to the Dodgers' second half, I mean, they had a good second half too. They were 41-23. And the Padres, what was their record in the second half? It was 43-19. So a little bit better in the second half. It's tough. Where was the poll? 55 Dodgers, 45 for the Padres. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tough because there's an argument for both. You know, I get it. Dodgers fans, you love your Dodgers. Padres fans, you love your Padres. But if we're looking at this from an unbiased point of view, it's really split, in my opinion, because, yes, the Padres definitely lacked in the first half, but if you're looking at it from a second half point of view, I think you have to lean Padres for the second half, in my opinion. I think they're healthier. They've a slightly better record, right? But the Dodgers, when you look at the Dodgers for an entire year, the Dodgers have been the more complete team all year. But if you're looking at it from the second half, the Padres, to me, they have just played, in my opinion, they just look better going into the postseason, in my opinion, right? You're healthier in the rotation. You got a good bullpen that matches up with the Dodgers bullpen. Your offense is solid. Like, no, you don't have Shohei Ohtani. No, you don't have Mookie Betts. No, you don't got Freddie Freeman. No, but you got guys in your lineup there that can definitely do some things, obviously. You got Tatis. You got Merrill. You got Machado. You got Bogarts. I'm just saying. The Padres, I don't know. But I see you. Padres lost to the Dodgers 2-1. Almost got swept just 4 days ago. Yeah, hell light. Bro, do you even watch the games? Yeah, I'll put them on. I don't know. I think in the end, it's tough. I have it set, but I'm wondering if I want to make an audible. I don't know. See your ass. Robbie thought Lindor was an option. Listen, a month ago, I like Lindor's all-around good year, but Ohtani was always winning that award. The last power rankings of 2024. Do I want to end this with a bang? But listen, let's say this. What happens here? What happens if I put the Dodgers at number 1 and then they lose in the first round? What happens then? What happens? I'm just saying. I don't know. Seeing a lot of you saying Dodgers are going to choke. But then what happens too if I go Padres at number 1? What if I make the big leap? What if I do make the big leap? Right? And then the Padres, who are hot, and then they just blow it. I don't know. It's tough. Oh, ball cap is here. Jim, I don't know, man. I'm stuck. I am stuck on this one. Because no matter, here's the thing. Jim, we know we do power rankings every week. No matter who I pick, I'm going to get yelled at. I can't win. It's a lose-lose situation. That's what I hate about this. I'm struggling with it because I hate when people yell at me. It doesn't make me feel warm and gooey inside. I'm just no. I hate it because I'm gonna have half of California yelling at me. Half. That's brutal. Ugh. I don't know. Sound FX. Braves go to San Diego. If they win one of two tomorrow, Padres versus Braves would be an absolute battle. It would be a great series. Padres Braves would be great. It would be. Jim, yeah. Hey, the Jays made it out of the top 5. They made it out alive. There's no winning with this one. There's no winning. There's just not. Here we go. We're doing it. We're going to do it. Dodgers 1, Padres 2. I like the Padres. I do. This is probably one of the hardest decisions I have ever made. This is a very difficult decision. Very difficult. I really wanted Andrew Lee. I am sorry. I know. I've made people mad. I'm going with the power of Ohtani. Listen, you got Ohtani, man. Things can happen. I'm just saying. I really do like the Padres, though. I really do. Justin Park, he got scared. Listen, when you got half of California coming after you, man, that's not easy, all right? I'm just saying. Those people are passionate, man. Anyway, I really wanted to put the Padres at number 1. I'm going to be very honest with you. They look very good. I think they have a team that could make a run. I think they can make a run to a World Series. I really do. I like the offense. I think they have more than enough bats to give problems for pitching out there. A great back end of the bullpen. Starting pitching is fantastic. I'm just looking at the Dodgers, man, and when you got just the top and the middle of the order, it's just devastating, man. It's so good. Now, I swear, if the Dodgers choke in the postseason, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. Dodgers fans, Dodgers, I put them at 1, all right? I gave you number 1. Do me a favor and succeed in the postseason, please. Just please do it, okay? For crying out loud. We will see what ends up happening. I think the Dodgers, if they can get enough from Flaherty, Yamamoto, right? If they can get and Buehler, if Buehler is right, that's a big ask for those 3. Well, for Flaherty, I think he's fine. But Yamamoto, let's see how deep he can go. Remember, he is just coming over from Japan last year. Postseason baseball in his first year of Major League Baseball. That's a big ask. You know, Walker Buehler, is he the X factor? We'll see. I think they can have enough here. Are they going to step up and execute? I don't know. We'll see. But San Diego, they look great. I love the bullpen. I love the offense. I love the rotation. I mean, if I could call this a tie, I would. Unfortunately, we have numbers 1 and 2. If I could somehow do a tie, I would. All right, because I think they both have enough arguments. Jim, I don't know if you're still here, and I'm thinking you're doing your power rankings tomorrow, but good luck, because I had a tough time with this one. We did have a super chat come in. I think we had a couple. Here we go. All righty. So we got the Nicholas Brooks $10 super chat. CRaz951, close the gap equals top highlight of 2024. That was a fun one, man. That was a fun one. I was hoping my Red Sox could make a move. Dang it. 199 from Lem Chomp. Feeling a Braves sweep. LOL Mets will return. Listen, I am never... When it comes to LOL Mets, okay, you can never be down on LOL Mets. You always have to keep your eyes out that it's going to make a return. Until they have to win tomorrow. If not, LOL Mets will be staying. Jim, but Padres at 10. You can't do that. Padres at 10. Oh, good luck with that, Jim. Good luck with that. Padres fans are going to be chasing you with burning the pitchforks. Sound FX, how you doing, my friend? $9.99. Greetings, Robbie. Hurricane Helene has hit my area the hardest, and I'm without power for a week. Ooh, sorry, my friend. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, my friend. I saw a lot of bad footage there. There was some rough spots. I had, when I was in 9th grade, when I was 14 years old, we got hit with, in Florida, we got hit by Hurricane, what was it? It was in 2004, September 2004. I forgot the name of it. Hurricane Gene? I think it was Gene. Yeah, we lost power for a week. We had to go get those MREs, those emergency meals from the National Guard. We had so many of those things. I had like 10 boxes of those things. Man. But yeah, sound effects. I'm glad you're doing okay. Praying the Braves smack the Mets back to reality and make a Cinderella story. Go Braves. Listen, I did pick the Braves to win the World Series. Coming into the year. It's still alive. Sound FX, thank you so much, my friend. I'm glad you're doing well. San Diego 97, Padres won head-to-head against the Dodgers, took the division. Let's go, Padres. Listen, Padres, again, if I could call like the 1-2 spot a tie here, I would. I'm so high on the Padres, but I just like that offense with the Dodgers, man. I do, and I think they have the pitching to get it done. And I like the bullpen, too, for the Dodgers. Trust me, I really like the Padres. So, Dodgers better lineup, San Diego better bullpen starting pitching. The Padres, in my opinion, definitely have the better pitching. I think the Dodgers, they have the deeper bullpen than the Padres. I love the Padres back end of the bullpen. I think they're better back there, but Dodgers have more arms, in my opinion. Andrew, thank you for becoming a member for the 35th month. Mr. Padres fan, thank you for becoming a member for the 26th month, even though I did put the Padres at number 2. And Andrew Lee, you are a Padres fan too. Thank you for staying on as a member. Andrew Lee, $1.99, Padres World Series champs 2024. They definitely have the team to get it done. They can make a run, I think. We will see. Everyone, I think I'm going to get out of here. We had a very long stream here tonight. Hey, final power rankings of 2024. Listen, and like I said in the beginning of the show, this could be the last power rankings. I'm not sure if we're going to be bringing it back next year or not. Like I said, there's kind of other things I do want to work on for the channel long term. Either way, if power rankings don't come back next year, I'm still going to be doing a lot of streaming. I would like to do some watch-alongs. I think that could be fun. Even if it's like kind of like a weekly news sort of a stream, you know, whether that's like a Sunday night or like a Monday morning or something like that. I would like to keep doing something like that. Streaming is still going to happen, and we are going to be doing off-season streams. So that don't forget about those. Even though we got the postseason, off-season, I'll be streaming almost every night. So those aren't going anywhere. But when it comes to power rankings, it just takes so long to set up for, which, you know, I don't mind, but it's more I want to focus as much as I can on other projects. And, you know, so whether or not, you know, power rankings. Now, I will say this. Weekly power rankings might not come back, but monthly power rankings, I might do that, right? So I like the end of each month. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. We'll see. We'll see. I got to think about it. But I do appreciate all of you for coming out this year. Every Sunday, we did have a couple of shows. I decided to skip in September because it was football and everyone was hyped on that. And so, yeah, I just felt like, yeah, people were more paying attention to that. So I didn't do a couple this month. But we really had a good year of power rankings, right? We were just going at it every single week. Everyone was getting mad at me like usual. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy doesn't know nothing. You're probably right about that. But either way, it was fun this year. It was always great seeing all of you in the chat every single week. That's the best part. You know, you can get mad at me and hate me all you want, but when I see all of you that come in here in the chat every single week, you know, the same faces and new faces as well that come along for the ride, that's the best part, right? So even though my power rankings might be just idiotic and stupid and just wrong and whatever else, the best part is seeing all of you. I'm sorry to be cheesy, but that is really the best part. When you guys come back every week and you still like to see what my potato face has to say, it does mean a lot. So I do appreciate all of you. But I will say for next year, the Red Sox, I predict they're going to make it to number 1 if we still keep doing the power rankings. Listen, I might have to do power rankings next year because, I mean, I got to put my Red Sox at number 1. I'm just saying. We will see. We'll talk about it. Stay tuned for that. But everyone, when it comes to postseason action, we will be live tomorrow for Game 2 between the Mets and the Braves. We will be watching the second game. First game, yes, that matters, but the second game is really what it's going to come down to at the end of the day. And we will be doing watch-alongs this postseason. I will be sitting here at my desk watching the games, and we'll be in here hanging out. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure those bell notifications are turned on. Hit that like for me on your way out if you can. And if you are new, subscribe to the channel. We had a couple new subscribers here during this stream, so thank you so much for that. Everyone, I'm out of here. It's been a great year, but we'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be live here tomorrow. We'll be watching the Braves and the Mets. Stay tuned for that. We'll be watching some postseason games together, and we'll have a good time. But everyone, have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.